Assalamu alaikum. Hello. Okay, so I can hear you.
Oh, yeah, I don't know how to, oh my God, this is embarrassing. I thought you were gonna do it through YouTube. Look, I have a scarf.
Look at you, all veiled up.
Yeah, this is my daughter. I told her I didn't have a scarf, and she was like, "Oh, I have a scarf." I didn't even know.
Nice. Nice. Okay. Yeah,
Do
it's
I
gonna
have
be on YouTube. What's that?
Sorry.
No, it's gonna be on YouTube, but I don't wanted to just test the sound and stuff, make sure you're comfortable. Before we go on, I can just press a button and it'll start going on YouTube.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Okay,
Yep.
perfect. Some people
Yeah.
can't like hear me at all. I guess it depends on the phone or something.
Yeah. Sometimes Zoom has those problems, so.
Give me one sec.
Yep.
But and the lighting's good. I have a very dark apartment.
Yeah, you're good. We can see you. You got a good background. You're all set.
I tried to put this to hide my bed because that's actually
Nice.
yeah. Oh goodness. So who's going to be talking? Is it you, Mubarak, and Hanif, or you and Mubarak?
Me and Mubarak primarily, and it really it's going to be mostly just you talking. Like you could tell your story, and then we'll find ways to interject the questions you gave us just to make it flow. Excuse me. But really it's just like it's your time, and however direction you want to go, like however you're feeling it, just go ahead and go in that direction. There's no pressure or anything. Like it's just a conversation pretty much. So
Okay.
if you feel uncomfortable or anything, if there's any like awkward pauses, we'll chime in with whatever and try to break it up a little bit. How long do you want to go?
I don't know.
Okay.
No, I just want to go with the flow. It's probably not going to be like 3 hours like the other ones.
You
Even
never
though
know.
I love the 3 hours, and you never know, right? And I talk a lot too. But I was hoping that you could start me with a question, because my story is huge. All of our stories are huge. So I basically wanted to address my parents and how they taught me to kind of worship Jelani.
Yeah.
And I guess that'll open it up. My story is too.
We usually start off with the question of like, just in case people don't know you, like what's your connection with Tmoa? So you can give like a brief background, like you were born in this, your parents are founding members, and I've been that type of stuff. I've been a part of the community I was part of the community for X amount of years. Just a little brief background, and then we'll just kind of go from there. We have your questions. We'll just like go like the first one. Will probably after that is go right into the first question you gave us. Let me just pull it up.
Okay, it was like what age was that?
Yeah, but if let me take a screenshot. If hold on. If the best way to kind of because it's just like how when you were talking to me and Hanif and you just kind of like were telling your story, like getting into like your story kind of just leads into those areas, so if you could do like when you start talking about like your involvement with Tmoa, you could start going into that, and then we'll interject, but we'll make sure we'll cover all the things and get you down there, and then like we might have some random questions that pop up, and if you don't feel comfortable answering anything or talking about anything, just say you don't want to talk about that. It's fine, and we'll move on.
Okay.
What's that?
I just don't want to kind of jump all over the place, because my story, it really is all over the place. That's why I was like, we can just focus on how I was raised, basically to work with this family, the whole Jelani family. Then maybe those will be like that'll keep it going in one direction, because it really is all over the place. Like
Yeah. Well, and we'll that's a good point. We're gonna keep you on track with the whole, like, the tonight's message really is to parents, and that's what kind of like we're gonna keep that in that box, and anything else you feel like you just want to mention, just mention it. So I'm gonna start letting people into the room. So you can turn your camera off and mute off right now, and then when we like bring you on, then you can unmute and all that, and we'll be set to go. All right.
Okay. So Hanif's not going to be on. I'm looking for my comfort blanket.
He might be on, but he didn't let me know. So I'm not sure if he comes on. Yeah, he could be right on with us. So, but I'm not sure if he is or not. So.
I can do this. I'm like,
yeah,
so
you got this. You got this. Relax. It's okay.
okay.
All right. I'm gonna go on mute and turn my camera off, and I'm gonna get everything else set up.
Okay, so do I turn it off too?
Yeah, you could turn your camera off, turn your mic off, and then when I bring you back on, I introduce you, then you could unmute that stuff.
Okay, I'm sorry. I really thought you were going to go through YouTube where I have appropriate pictures. So let me. I'm going to mute it.
All right.
Welcome, so.
Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. We're getting set up right now. Just bear with us. I gotta make some people a host. Okay.
Go.
All right, let's see here. Mark, all right. All right. You about ready, Mubarak?
I'm ready. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله ما بعد.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Welcome to the R2F show. Another week. For everybody that doesn't know, R2F is the Return to FITRAH, in which we help Muslims return to the true practices of Islam, the FITRAH that we're all born upon, which is authentic Islam, away from any deviation and innovation and falsehood. Today we have we're gonna have a great guest. We have our first woman guest from the group Tmoa, the Muslims of America, the cult group that was led and founded by Mubarak Jelani. And then before we get into the interview, I just wanted to make another announcement in regards to the family that is inquiring about their father, who was on the run for a while in Pakistan. This is just a picture just so people can understand who he is. And I just want to make a clarification. He was not involved in any, as far as we know, any murders or killings or assassinations. He was caught up into a workman's comp situation, a white collar crime. But again, if anybody has any information relating to his whereabouts, whether he's alive or passed away, please contact the family and let them know any information that you may have. And at this point, even if it's a rumor, it may help them, point them in the right direction to getting some closure on this situation. So I just wanted to share that and remind people that we're still looking for more information regarding this brother. So tonight we have Bellah Ali. And Bellah, you can go ahead and unmute yourself and bring your camera on. Assalamu alaikum. How are you doing?
Alaikum salam. I'm doing okay. How are you?
Good, alhamdulillah. It's just first like to thank you for coming on the show. What you're doing is very courageous, especially being the first a woman that's going to be on our show that's going to be talking about her experiences with Tmoa. So what you're doing is very big. And what it's going to do is open up the door for other people to share their stories. And even though you might not see it immediately, you might see it immediately, what you're doing is going to have a profound impact on helping a lot of people move away from the falsehood, which you have done. So first question I would just like to say is just tell the people who you are and how you are connected with the group of the Muslims of the America.
Okay, so my name's Bellah Ali. I go by Bella or Bila. I'm the daughter of, I'm nervous. I'm the daughter of Sister Aisha Farouk and Brother Farouk. One of, I guess, like the founding fathers. They're both like kind of like the elders in the community. And
Okay.
Those are my parents and everybody. I have 1,000 sisters, Bia, Kani, Shamaila, Khanum, Nini, Hawa.
Okay.
There's that. Yeah.
Okay. So pretty big family and pretty much connected. And so, and we're just going to kind of go through just some questions and feel free to just talk, because this is what, it's just a conversation. Anything you want to share, anything off script, not that we have a script or anything, but
Yeah.
you know, feel free to share with us. So like the first question that I have is, let me pull up my list, is I want to talk about how your parents and in your family and in your household, because your parents run your household, how your parents operated or functioned within your household in relation to Tmoa and Sheikh, quote, Sheikh Mubarak Jelani.
Okay. Well, my parents first introduced me to Sheikh Jelani. Like, I mean, they first told me who he was when I was 4. And I actually had I feel like it's when we first moved to Michigan and we were like still unpacking, like that's how long ago it was. Mm-hmm. But I had a little, I looked in one of the boxes and there was like a little picture frame, like a heart frame. And I wanted it. So I asked my Umi, like, can I have this frame? And she was like, well, you can only have this picture frame if you put a picture of Sheikh Jelani in it. And I was like, who is that, basically? And so she told me it was like, he is going to be the most important person in my life. And she put a picture of him in it. It was like him, like his shoulder was like the side profile, I guess. And she said it's what he was. And tell me if I'm talking too fast, because I am kind of weirded out by all of it.
No, go ahead. You'll be all right. You'll settle in.
Okay, good. I can't wait. So yeah, she put a picture in the frame and it was like the side of Sheikh Jelani. And she said it was a picture that she took of him when he was in Brooklyn. And when he saw the camera, he like turned away from it because he was like so modest. And so that's, you know, that was my first introduction to him, about him, and that he was going to be the most important person in my life. Like,
wow. And that's interesting because as Muslims, and Mubarak can chime in on this, as far as, well, I'll just ask Mubarak the question, who, as far as in this world, who are the most important people in our lives?
So as far as people living today on the planet Earth with you, is your parents. Your parents would be most important. Mother and father are the most important. The the person who has the most authority, or who, according to the religion of Islam, is to be obeyed more than anyone on the planet Earth, as long as they're following Islam, is the father, and then the mother. More than any sheikh, more than any friend, neighbor, holy person, anyone. The father comes first. The mother comes 1A, 1B, father and mother, and then as far as just in general, who is over the mother and the father is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and by extension that is, Allah and His Messenger. So what Rasulullah and what Allah says comes first before anyone else, but then the mother and the father, and a sheikh is nowhere in that list really, unless they are saying something in accordance with the messenger, what the messenger says. I would also like to say for Nabila that I know you said you were a little nervous a couple of times, but one thing that you should know is actually there are many people, men, grown men, old men, young men, and women, but many people, probably well over 100 people who wanted to do and want to do what you're doing now, but they have not yet been able to have the courage and the strength to do what you are doing. So don't be nervous. Many people were not able to get themselves to this point, and you were. So you in that regard, you're much stronger than many other people who, if they're listening and watching, they're not able to do what you're doing now. So no nerves whatsoever. You've already passed that.
Yeah, thank you for that. I have like a storm in my chest because it's very heavy. So I'm hoping we can, although it's like heavy and so a lot of my story is like really dark, I hope we can try to get light, because who wants all that?
Yep.
Yep. So
how did it feel like growing up as because your parents, who Mubarak just explained, are really the most important people in your life, and as a child growing up, they are for any child, regardless of whatever they may say. How does it feel? Were there any conflicting emotions or feelings or thoughts when your parents are telling you like, no, this guy is more important than us?
Yeah, it was weird because we would read I guess it's a hadith, your mother, your mother, your mother. And so the hadith said that your mother comes first, but my mother was saying like, no, this man comes first. And in our household, we worshipped him. We worshipped Bonnie and his family, his kids, his wives. And I'm not saying all TMOA members went in hard the way we did, but they were, it was not cool. Yeah. Like literally, we use like Allah's name and Shaji, Sheikh Jelani's name, like interchangeably in our house. And anything that Shaji said, we really believe that it was directly from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whether it contradicted with Quran or Hadith, anything. It was just like he said it, so that means Allah said it, and it's don't question it. Mm-hmm. So it was, yeah, I felt conflicted sometimes.
So when you saw those contradictions, is that did those contradictions in what Jilani may have said, or your parents told you he said, and then with certain things that you learned, you mentioned the hadith, about the allegiance should be to your mother, even your loyalty should be to your mother, even 3 times more than your father, so yeah. And so things like that, did you notice some of those contradictions, and did that start to push you away early, or was it just something that you pushed out of your mind?
It didn't start to push me away, but I felt like I didn't have a voice. It made me feel, I knew I didn't have like a voice, like I don't know. For an example, I always wanted to go to school for something. Like I have a lot of interest, and I wanted to be a journalist when I was a kid. And then my parents my mom mainly, she was like, okay, yeah, because Sheikh Jelani needs journalists. So, after you get married, if your husband says yes, then you can be a journalist. So in my little 14-year-old mind, I was like, well, I have to get married in order to go to school. And if my husband says yes, I can become a journalist. and I have to work for Sheikh Jelani. So it had nothing to do with me. Like, you know, anything I wanted was constantly redirected back to him.
Yeah.
You know, another thing, at one point I wanted to be a lawyer. Same thing with that, like, oh, Sheikh Jelani needs lawyers. Like it always reverted back to him. Is that the right word? Reverted. I'm the revert.
Yeah, no, great word.
Yeah.
And we don't mean to laugh, and we get a lot of people that chastise us for laughing.
Please laugh.
We're not making light of the situation, but it's so ridiculous to hear. I mean, it's like, because in our own lives we have experienced some of these things or heard some of these things. So some of our laughter is not at you, it's with you, and actually for ourselves too, because we're recalling these things in our childhoods as well. So don't be mad if we laugh a little bit.
No, it's laughable. Oh my God, I'm the queen of laughing. So please do. And besides, it's so heavy. All of it is so heavy that I want to keep it light anyway. So this interview can help someone and they can come back and watch it. Not so dark.
Well, just so you know, like one of the things that when people have gone through trauma or abuse or things that we have all gone through, the common reaction to deal with that is laughter or jokes. So, you know, you're in a place where you can laugh about some of this. And we mention all the time in our little chats that sometimes we laugh so that we don't cry. So don't be, you know, if you have to let that emotion out, let it out. I wanted to know, as far as you specifically, with your own personal thoughts and feelings, what was your relationship with Sheikh Jelani? How did you feel about him growing up?
Okay, I never met, I think I did meet him in person once when I was like 4, like when he was still allowed in America. And I don't remember it. I just know it's on video. Your video just disappeared, by the way. Did you turn your camera off?
I think he did.
Yeah, I'm eating something. I don't want to do it on camera.
Oh my God, hang on.
Hello. It is
My bad.
So with my relationship, like Sheikh Jelani came first. Like I could name so many examples. Oh my goodness, yeah, we put him above everything, above everyone, and it was hard. It was hard growing up like that because like my big sisters were allowed to go to school. I always wanted to be smart, so one day I will be, but I always wanted to be smart, so I always wanted to go to school. So my big sisters, Hawa and Nini, were like allowed to go to, I remember them going to school and the career center and all that. And I think one girl, I don't know how old I was, but one girl in the community went to public school and she got pregnant. And so I remember Sheikh Jelani put out like this VHS tape and he was like, the girls are no longer allowed to go to school. And he said, one girl went to school and now she's pregnant. And it was like, that was it. The whole future for all of us was just like gone. So I was like, what do we do? But I knew I couldn't question it. And it was like, Sheikh Jelani said it, so it's right. And I never questioned it. And inside I was hoping like, okay, maybe I'll get married and then my husband will say yes. And then I'll get to go to school. And that didn't happen either. So that's why
okay. So before we get a little bit farther, I just have a question. I always wondered this for the guest, is that at any time, do you remember yourself thinking, okay, yes, I actually believe that Jelani is who my parents and everyone is saying he is. I believe this. I believe in this. That's the first part of the question. The second part of the question, and what was the moment that you in your mind that you thought, I do not believe this?
Well, I believed it since I was 4. I believed everything. I believed that he was a white hawk and that he can see your thoughts. And and I believe the story about him moving the moon and something about rainbows following him, you know, because it's in the song that my sister and I used to sing, the Yam Rashid who rainbows follow. So something rainbows follow him. He's a hawk. He's the lion of Allah. I'm just so giggly. But yeah, I never had any doubts about him. I never had any doubts. I knew there were things that were like he would contradict himself, but the Lord it doesn't matter if the Lord is saying it, you know, like Lord. So how he can change it any time. So I feel like I'm not really giving good answers and I have so much to say and I'm trying to keep it, you know, pleasant and keep it all.
Well, no, you're giving good answers. And you don't have to. I mean, if you've been seeing the show, we sometimes we go way left, way right, up, down. So don't worry about trying to keep it light. If it's heavy, we can take heavy. If it's light, we can be light. It's your moment, your time, your show, really. We just want to help you to get across what you want to get out to the people, because the authentic and the real story, your story, will help people. Sometimes maybe keeping it light may help you, and that's fine, that's okay. But I think some of the things that you may say, well, I want to keep this light, holding those things back might be the thing that, if it were said, or if it were really explained to where that some other young lady, maybe close to your situation, or maybe has gone through your situation but doesn't know how to make it quite there, that extra detail maybe that you have might help them get over the edge to stand up, or to get some help. Or for those people who may be hurting her or pressing her or putting her in a situation that might lead to a road that you might have taken the hard way, perhaps you can prevent that young lady from taking that hard way that you went through. That's what we think about. We were talking about it earlier today. We didn't have an R2F or some group that was like literally giving us some information to make us think. So this is your opportunity. Maybe there's some 4-year-old girl whose parents are telling her that she needs everything. And, maybe, a year from now or 2 or whatever, she may see this video, and it may be you that Allah used to help her to make it. So maybe that will help you to be easy.
Okay, nice. Yeah. And it's not that I just want to keep it light, but I don't want to show too much. I don't want to show a lot of like unnecessary emotion, because if I really get into it, they're going to be like, oh, a woman's on the show and she's the first one who cried. Like, I don't want to be like, so I'm really working hard, because I haven't healed from everything yet.
Yeah.
So, I'm strong enough to get on here, but it's like, oh, it's probably going to take years to really heal from all of it. And
right.
Because I really felt disregarded as a person, and especially as a woman in that community, and with everything, just the double standards, and just with how my parents treated me. Him before everything, and then cut me off because I stopped following his rules, and there was just no love. And I don't know. Here, something, or I will start rambling.
No, that's fine. So like you mentioned how like they put him above everything, and this is something we all kind of did while we were in that cult mentality. Is there any times that they actually put him above not only everything, but specifically you, your other brothers and sisters, and even maybe themselves? Because I know sometimes like we make this when we're indoctrinated like that. I know examples of myself where I would even put Sheikh Jelani above my own needs and hurt myself in order, like I think I'm benefiting some guy that's over, thousands of miles collecting our money. But is there any examples of that?
Yes, absolutely. My parents have always paid percent. My father has worked my entire life, and my mom worked sometimes, just doing different jobs as a teacher and stuff. And they always pay percent. I don't think they were ever late on paying percent. And we lived in like a really raggedy trailer, and it was falling apart. And I never knew anything. Thank the Lord I had a bunch of sisters, because I got to wear all their hand-me-downs, but we needed clothes. We didn't believe in food stamps, because that was like for ghetto people, but we were ghetto.
You're right.
So it was, we're not like from the hood, we were farmers, but we didn't get like government assistance, because I think maybe at the time Shaji said, don't do that, or don't live off the government or something. So they were trying to fully obey, but we were, for years and years, we had, when popcorn poppers were a thing, we had like popcorn and tomato soup like for years. Like,
wow.
That's what we were all skinny.
No.
But yeah, our meal, and they were giving like all of their money to Pakistan, to whatever he was doing with the money in Pakistan.
Did you have an idea or anything that you were told about what was, like, for instance, for years I was ignorant and I thought our membership dues was zakat, and it was like going to help poor people and stuff. Like, what did you think that the money went to?
We heard it was going to zakat, but with my parents, the only reason I heard that is because someone else asked, where is it going? And my parents were like, well, can you believe brother so-and-so asked like where the money's going? Like, what a munafik, like take ask for your money, you give him your money. And so I was like, where is it going? They were like, it's going to charity. You know, if you send Sheikh Jelani $1, if you only send him $1, he'll break it into 10 dimes and give it to 10 hungry families or something like that, is what they said. And so, I mean, I was just, I always needed stuff growing up. And especially like after I got married, I really needed things, and we just didn't have money.
Had you ever heard that phrase where I know that I heard it a lot growing up, that you come with your wealth in one hand and your head in the other? Did your parents say that, or did they was that emphasized in growing up? Come with your head in one hand, basically your life and your money just, you know, was for the sheikh, basically.
Yeah, that's what we believed in. I never heard it, you know, I never heard that phrase before, but that's how we lived. So that's how we lived. And that goes for him and his wives and his kids. Like, I still know his kids' birthdays and everything, because it was like, if these, I can't look at you. They were like, if he, you know, because he was like, we worshiped him, so that anyone who married him or his kids, you know, it was like, these are our queens, and whatever they say goes as well, you know? So, oh my God, so embarrassing. I used to like write his wives letters, and I knew they wouldn't answer because they're so busy. And so I would just write them like fan mail, like, I'm so blessed to be a part, and they probably still have them somewhere in their emails. Like, I'm so blessed to be part of this community and ready to give my life over for you. Just stupid, weird stuff. I might emails too. But yeah, we worship the Jelani family, and they don't even know the first thing about me, but I know like everything about them.
That's really interesting, because like, just like you said, you know everything about them. But it's funny, I will listen to the Skypes where when Skype became a thing, and it was like a big honor for people at the retreats to be chosen to go say something to Sheikh Jelani. And we have like one famous one, we call him Crying Boy, and he's like, anyway. But when people stand up there, and then he's like, I'm brother so and so, and then you hear Sheikh Jelani in the background. Who's this guy? Who? Then they're like, his name is so and so. His parents are so and so. Remember you? And he's like, okay. Then he says something back. But if this guy like knows, like, he can see through White Hawks and through his pictures and knows all of his talibs and all that, but he doesn't know anybody's name, you know. But we know all these things about him. But
yeah, it's not cool. And you know how like the whole Muslim don't have images in your house? It's like not Islamic to have pictures of people on your walls. We had pictures of Shaji all over our house. And so I did ask my mom about it. I was very scared to ask questions growing up in my house. I'm still scared to ask my mom questions. But I was like, if we're not like allowed to have images, how can we have pictures of Shaji on the wall? And she was like, because this is Shaji, like this is Sheikh Jelani, like he is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You think the angels aren't going to enter the house because his face is on the wall? Like, that's impossible. So it was like, we compromised there, because you know, it was Sheikh Jelani. Of course his picture can be, he created us basically. That's how we saw it. So
yeah, just for the viewers and for our information as well. So the pictures, the Rasulullah said that the angels do not enter the house of enter a house in which there are like pictures up on the walls. You can have like a photo album or whatever. I mean, they can't be like up and displayed like you see in a lot of non-Muslim homes. You know, when you go to your non-Muslim relatives, they have all, you know, everybody, you know, on the walls and stuff. That's not allowed, and the angels won't enter, or if they have a dog in the house. So that's the hadith, the portraits, the pictures, or the angels. And I have seen this as well in people's houses. I mean, right in their right in front of where they pray, like where their salah room, you know, his picture is like, you know, right there basically. I mean, they might as well be praying to it. But for the people listening, is not allowed. So if you're in TMOA, because we know they watch the show and they troll, but so that's the ahadith. So if you have pictures of Jilani or anyone else, you have to take them down because the angels won't come in, and it affects your salah as well. So just FYI, but you can continue.
Okay. Yeah, I'm like scared to continue because you guys, it's awesome and beautiful that you can back everything up with like Quran and Hadith. I feel like the Islam that I learned was just like, it should have been a book called like Shaji Says, because I feel like I didn't like learn Islam properly, and I don't even, and then after I left, after, you know, I have a huge story, but I left, I was really, I ran away from Islam because there were so many, because of the community really, and just the way my parents taught me to praise Sheikh Jelani, and I was just so disregarded as a human and so abused and so much poverty, such a hard life that I ran away from, instead of the community, I ran away from Islam completely and had to, I didn't have to, but I was still searching. So it was like, my journey was the whole Christianity journey and all that. I was just looking for anything. And and so
yeah, so
did you is that because you associated like your Islam literally was whatever Shaji said, and then when you found out like this is not right, you just ran away from all that? Is that what it was about?
Yes, I ran away from all of it, and but I was still looking. I still consider myself Muslim, and I was trying to join another Muslim community, an Egyptian Muslim community, and then horrible things happened with that community. So I was like, okay, I'm going to just leave Islam altogether. That was, you know, part of my journey, and we all have our journey.
Yeah, and just so our viewers know, like, this is the main reason why we do what we do, is because when people are involved in spiritual abuse, which everybody in TMOA is being affected by spiritual abuse, or you could say cults. When people leave the cults, especially cults that are based on some kind of, you know, mainstream religion, you know, you have Christian cults, you can have Buddhist cults, you can have any cult. They take a main body of religion and they twist it to their own purposes and deceive and abuse people. And this is what we have in TMOA. The biggest risk of that, especially when we're talking about Muslim cults, is that people, when you're in a cult, you can't differentiate the actual religion from what is just the cult practices. And then when you suffer those abuses, you know, whenever we, like, for instance, whenever we suffer trauma, like, I'll ask you a question just so people can tie it together. Do you enjoy popcorn and tomato soup now?
Oh my God, no.
Exactly. Right. And it's many people have this same, like, I know people that don't eat oatmeal because they grew up eating horse oats. Right. I have people that don't eat tuna fish and eggs because all they ate was tuna fish and boiled eggs growing up in TMOA. And the reason they don't, it's not because they don't like the taste or whatever, it's because it's associated with a trauma that they experienced. So when your trauma is associated with anything that is Islam and you can't tell the difference, people run away from Islam. So literally this cult behavior, this spiritual abuse chases people away from Islam. And don't feel ashamed that, you know, you feel like you have to learn your religion all over again, because every single one of us had to do the same exact thing. You had to start a good quote that a mutual friend we have, you know, Hanif J. Williams, he told me, he was talking to somebody and they said, I need to learn Islam right back to Alif Bata, you know, and that's really what it is.
Yeah, same. I need to. I really do. And it's frustrating, but just to be clear, like, I know that it wasn't Islam. I know clearly it was the cult and the people in that cult and the administration and my parents. Like, I know it was them. It wasn't Islam, because Islam is beautiful. But it didn't help that after I left and joined a different community, I suffered abuse there as well. So yeah, that didn't help.
So just real quick, just the one thing this may be helpful, and I'm sure a lot of other people may be reaching this point, and I will say that with Allah as the witness, when I left TMOA and actually started to learn even small things about Islam, I felt like I had just become Muslim. I felt like whatever I was doing before was in Islam. And so I was feeling like I should like take my Shahada, like this was all brand new. So that feeling of not just feeling like you're running away from Islam, running because you're leaving TMOA, I had that same feeling. Like the reason why I hung on so long was thinking I can't leave because this is Islam. And so leaving kind of makes you feel like, well, I'm not a Muslim anymore. And so maybe it might lead people to look for something else. And that feeling, I'm sure Jafar can attest to this as well, that it's a feeling of actually becoming a Muslim for the first time when you leave. And so that's normal for everyone, I think. So don't worry about that.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely have to learn. But when I left, I still wanted to because I learned the 40 hadiths. Every retreat it's the 40 hadiths every retreat, or the 40
the same ones over and over and over
again.
I
tried to Google it. I tried to Google it because I wanted to teach my kids. When I left, my ex-husband kept our son and I took my daughter, and we split like that. And so I was like, I want to teach my daughter these hadiths that I grew up on. And they're nowhere to be found. Like I tried to Google 40 hadiths, and they're under a different name as well.
So the 40 hadith that we learned growing up in TMOA were some of them are authentic, most of them are weak, or some are not actual hadith at all, or they're fabricated. Some are misworded or whatever. The commentary in which Jilani throws in there, I don't know if you read the book, there's the 40 hadith, and then there's a book that my dad would have where it had like his commentary or whatever. A lot of that stuff is bogus. So we probably all did the same thing. I think I remember me and Jafar having a conversation about the 40 hadith. The actual 40 hadith, the most famous one is 40 hadith an-Nawawi. Imam an-Nawawi did the 40 hadith. They're almost all different. I don't think any of them are the same, from Jilani's 40 hadith book to an-Nawawi. And if we had been learning the actual 40 hadith from Imam an-Nawawi, it would literally be enough to completely dismantle TMOA and everything that they do. So that's why maybe he made his own 40 hadith, with just some things that could fit in with what he wanted people to do. But it's those 40 hadiths were, it's a shame. We actually thought that those were the only hadith, like he only said 40 things. We didn't think there was anything else. So there are hundreds of thousands of hadith.
That this was like if you learn these 4 hadith, you're guaranteed paradise. So just learn these 4 hadith, you're guaranteed paradise. I was like, oh, mashallah, this is easy. Like, oh yeah, Allah.
I couldn't find them, and I don't know which is which, what's authentic and what's not. And I really am starting from zero right now, like with the whole Islamic thing. So yeah.
No, there's no problem with that. Alhamdulillah that you are the first thing is being aware. And a lot of people are unaware that they need to start somewhere. So you're ahead probably, honestly, of probably 99% of the people that are on the planet, but definitely 100% of the people who are still in TMOA and believing in it. So you're doing very well. So so we got to the point where you are in TMOA, how you believed in Shaji, but there was a lot of problems there. So what was the main thing, or the thing that you remember most that you said, okay, this is not it, this is not going to work, I don't believe in this anymore? What was that point that really, or the straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak?
Okay, I well, I kind of left twice, because the first time is because I asked for a divorce. I had like first of all, the way I got married, me oh my. So I was told by like 2 of the authorities, okay, how do I start this? In 2008, there was like a women's retreat going on in South Carolina, and I don't even know where to start. Okay, so me and my brother-in-law, well, he was my brother-in-law, my ex-husband, we knew each other because his brother is married to my sister, Shemaila. And so we talked all the time, and I think it was in June, and his birthday just passed. And so I made him a cake. And so the rumor or the story got out like, okay, she made him this strawberry cake and they're talking too often. They need to get married. Everyone knew we liked each other, but neither of us, like him or me, we were not like bad kids or like fresh teenagers who were trying to hold hands or kiss and nothing. We didn't even close to each other, honestly.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, after the cake, somebody told the authorities that this birthday cake was made. So I think it was like Amira Sophia and Uncle Hasib at the time. They were like, rest in peace. They were like, let's have this meeting at who was it? Abu Hakim's house. Wow, everybody, peace be with them. Like everybody's like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was like at Abu Hakim's house, and we had this like meeting with my ex-husband. Well, he was with Salim, Muhammad Salim. Like I'm not talking bad about him, I'll name him. So it was like
honestly, everybody knows who you are. They know who your sister is. They know who your sister's husband is. They know who Salim is. We know it. Salim is a childhood friend of mine, actually. So the story that you're telling, I'm. It may look like I'm holding back laughter because I know the story, and I know.
Were you at the Walima? I don't remember.
I was not at the Walima, but let's put it this way. I have known Salim since he was born. Okay, so I grew up with him. We were neighbors the whole time before y'all were married. When it was assumed that you guys would get married. During your marriage and after, like I've known him the whole time. So all the stories, some of it's like some of the events you were saying, they're funny. There's some funny backstories to it. So that's why I was just laughing a little bit to myself. But continue. Don't let me stop the story. Don't. I was just saying that because we know the people, and they're not. I mean, everybody pretty much knows who these people are. So you don't have to try to dodge that. And it's not. We're not saying anything bad about them. It's just, they're people.
Okay, yeah. Thank you for that. So we were, they told us to meet at Abu Hakim's house, my parents, his parents, and Auntie Sophia and Uncle Hasib. And so they were like, you guys are always talking on the roads at the retreats and stuff. You made him this strawberry cake. Y'all have 24 hours to get married. I'm trying to
Dang.
And so they were like, you guys have 24 hours to get married. And so we did. And we were poor. My family has always been poor. At the time, we were actually living at Aisha Mukit's house, in one of her like bed back rooms, like packed with people. Like literally, Tani Bia, Shika Shazia, and Amina Mukit were all living in the trailer bedroom. And so what happened? I didn't have anything, and I didn't know anything either. And that's another thing about TMOA. There's nothing to prepare you. There was nothing. Okay, I didn't know anything. We just from retreats, I learned how to cook, and I learned these hadiths. There was no like sex ed or don't have a ton of kids, no nothing. You just go into it and figure it out.
Yeah.
So they told us.
Real quick, I had a question. Did like at any time did you express to your parents like I don't want to do this, or did you just go along with it because like admin or Jelani said you got to do this?
Or did you want to do it? I mean, that's
we liked each other, and I had no idea what a marriage was. So of course I wanted to get married because we can't date. So it was just like, yeah, let me get married because you don't even know what it is. It's like, okay, you have permission to date is what it, that's how I saw it.
Right.
So anyway, so we had 24 hours. So I was going around the land. Can I get $2? Can I get $5 here and there? Just asking for stuff. People giving me money, and they were like, oh my God, you guys are going to get married in 24 hours. And I think Amira Mariam offered her house, like you guys can get married in our house. And people like brought sweets and snacks and stuff because there was no time, and our family really didn't have any money at all. And so and I borrowed beautiful Nisa Plummer's wedding dress. And so I got married in her dress, and people bought like donuts and crackers, and that was our wedding. And the walima was Mubarak. That's why I asked you where you were at the walima, because the walima was the worst.
I was not there. We were not there because it happened so quickly.
Yeah.
And yeah, this we assumed that he would that you guys would get married, or that he wanted to marry you, but there were some things preventing him from making that known to you, I think, or like proposing or anything. There was something there. I don't want to say what it was. It's not something bad. It just
I mean, in a way.
Yeah, go ahead.
In a way, I guess we were like what you would consider engaged, but there was no like engagement. There was no like actual sit down. I think we went to a restaurant, like our families or something went to a restaurant. We never talked about like, is he going to get a job? Is she going to get a job? What about the wedding, the ring, the nothing? It was just like, we kind of had dinner together, but there was no like actual engagement.
No.
It was a mess, honestly.
And to your point, when you say that in Tmoa, there's no like real preparation for getting married. I mean, I think it's always this culture of when a girl gets a certain age, she's going to get married. And the big goal in life is to get married. Oh, she got married. Oh, wow. What's wrong with you, girl? You haven't got married yet, type of thing. Or, you know,
the goal was just to get married and not know anything about how to run a house. Go ahead and talk.
Exactly. I think for the men too. I think Jaffer, I don't know if we were having that conversation, maybe we were having it or with someone else, but just recently where in Tmoa, like for a lot of us, we had to find out kind of how, like on the fly, how to make our marriages work and how to do these things. We kind of weren't like really explained to and helped along to like getting married was a goal, and then it's like figure it out, instead of, you know, it being a really thing where we were kind of taught how to deal with each other, because you didn't deal with women. So if you didn't have sisters and things like that, or for even for the girls, if they didn't, and a brother is never going to be like a husband, and a father is not really going to be like a husband, but you really didn't have that experience to deal with the opposite gender. And so a lot of marriages in Tmoa fail. A lot of them fail. And I think that's part of it, is because it's just like, okay, go, you know, get married, great, job's done. But there's a lot of work that should go in before that, during and after, to help people along. And a lot of people get married when they're not ready, financially, mentally, and other things. I think that's, you know, I've got two sisters myself, and one of the things that it's almost like, you know, me trying to help them or wanting them to get married is like the Tmoa syndrome. I'm never getting married. I mean, literally, I got sisters right now that say, I'm never getting married. And I think a lot of it has to do with some of the things that you experience, not you personally, but kind of how a lot of people have a similar experience, and they just don't want that. They don't want that. So they run from getting married. I'm pretty sure you can understand why they think
so. Yeah, it was there's no preparation, even with the books. Honestly, the book's A Gift to the Muslim Bride, and I think at one retreat Sheikh Jelani had us reading Fascinating Womanhood, and I think it's a great book if you're a person who is willing to surrender your entire life to your husband and have a lot of kids and stay in the house. If you really want to do that, then I think Fascinating Womanhood is great, because it's about putting yourself completely, not even second, but just last, you know? And, but I feel like as humans, I can't look at Mubarak because I'm gonna laugh, but I feel like as humans, we all have, what's the saying, like fill your cup so that you'll have enough to give to others. But when your cup is just running on E all the time, you're like, you can't run a house like that. And then you're not allowed to get a job. And then your husband doesn't have a job or is in the city while you're on the land hungry. Mubarak, your sisters were literally my saviors every month, because we were so poor. I literally had to, if whoever's watching this is suffering from like secondhand embarrassment, like imagine being in the situation. Like, we were so poor in Tennessee. I never had, every month I needed to borrow like girl products from your sisters. Like, until I think Amina's outspoken one. She was like, why don't y'all have any money? Like,
yeah,
and just to get
and she is the one. She's the main one that's like, no, I'm not getting married. I don't care. And like I said, I didn't want to like put her out there like that or like blame her refusal to get married on you. But I think her experience with, you know, with you and kind of like seeing that is like, yeah, you know, she just runs from it. And I think that's something that gets overlooked in Tmoa, is that the effect that these things are having on, you know, other people. They just really don't educate the people and help the people. I mean, when you're sending for you in your situation in Tennessee, when you were there, that we were sending money, lots of it, out right past your door, away from you.
We didn't have a door. Oh, we didn't have a door on our trailer.
Well,
we had to. You can push it up against the trailer, but it was off the hinges. You literally lifted it, just went on ahead. And as for the back door, it was actually stapled. A curtain was stapled. And I'm not, you know, trash talking the ex-husband. He wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. It wasn't his home. I have nothing. Man, he's related to.
I mean, so actually, the story was actually, I don't know, because I know y'all had lived a few places, but one of the places you lived, I don't know if it was this place or not. But so when I moved off the land, I had a place that anyone who was either newly getting married or like was struggling or whatever, I wouldn't sell it to anyone. I would literally just ask the person, how much rent can you pay? If they said none, I would let them stay. If they said $50 or whatever, I mean, literally, I was renting the place for like pennies or whatever. And some people tore it up. So, I mean, usually what happens when people, you know, for whatever reason, sometimes you can't help people because they will tear stuff up if they don't have to pay for it. But that's a side issue. But the point is, so maybe my house could have been the house that didn't have a door or whatever. But wallahi, when I lived there, it had doors, it had everything. And maybe some of the people who stayed there for free just decided to tear it up. But I'm familiar with the situation in which
I mean, it was horrible living conditions. And that was part of the reasons why I knew we had to go our separate ways, because I thought I would be allowed to work. And then when I found out I wasn't allowed to work, and then I had these two babies, and I'm not sure what he was doing. He was working in the city. He was in Nashville. We were in Dover. So, you know, how far away is that? Like 2 hours or something?
Yeah, it's an hour and a half. Basically, it's basically a 2 hour. If you come back and forth, it's a 4 hour commute altogether both ways. When you factor in gas money, and then you know, the people that made it were operating at a loss most of the time, but they didn't realize it.
Okay. Yeah, well, that's where my husband at the time was. Most of the time he was in Nashville because he worked there, and he could save money, or, you know, save on gas or whatever if he stayed in the city. But me and the two babies, we were on the land all the time, and we didn't have anything. We didn't have food. And every single day I was knocking on either Najib's house or somebody's door. Can we get some flour? Can I get a tomato? Can we get butter? And after a while, people actually, I know it's probably not right Islamically, but people started saying no. And so I started getting embarrassed. And I want to try to keep this light because I'm still so emotional about it. But I actually blacked out a few times from being so hungry. Like, I was so hungry that I blacked out, like in the house with my two babies. We didn't have electricity. And so I had these candles, and it was like really hot at night, like, because there was no fans, no nothing. So we had candles, and there was like, I remember we had no food in the house but syrup and water, because I think there was no water bill. I think the water was like from the well or something.
Yeah.
So
good question. So while you're going through all this financial trouble, and this is extreme financial trouble, but every young couple marriage goes through financial hardship. It's like the number one cause of divorce, young, old, middle age, it doesn't matter. But this is extreme poverty we're talking about. But while you're going through this extreme poverty, did you guys still pay membership dues?
Of course. Of course.
So, and that's what I want to bring out to the people is that for those who say that, you know, they think these membership dues are for charity, you have people who actually literally qualify to receive charity or zakat, paying zakat that they think is zakat anyway, while they're literally like you said, blacking out, you know, like, and it just reminds me of, it's really, I'm not going to try to go too deep, but it's really sad when you think about the stories of the Sahabas where real leaders, real examples of leadership, like Khalifa Umar used to walk around in the middle of the night and check on his people. And you the stories of, like, I believe he came up to a lady and she was like stirring water and rocks until the babies fell asleep. This is what this reminds me of. And now it's really
syrup water for sorry.
No, go ahead. No, that's the problem with Zoom. Everybody always talks over each other, but go ahead.
Yeah, it was like, I can't remember if it was like 5 days or a week. It was about a week that me and the two babies, my two kids, we only had syrup water. We had syrup and water, and I would put that in their bottles. I was blacking out. Of course, I couldn't breastfeed. My body couldn't even produce milk. It was like, I need food. And it was just extreme. It was extreme. And like animals were coming in because I think one of the girls were mad one time and broke the door. And so the back door was like off. And so I stapled this curtain up. This is after the family moved out and it was just me and the husband and the kids who lived there at the time. But when he was in the city, this is how we lived, and with no electricity either. And so I remember contacting the authorities, the community authorities. And I was like, I need a divorce, or I need to get a job, and I'm not allowed to get one. And I was like writing lots of letters. And then one of my letters did reach, Shaji, and he's like, basically, why are you having her live like that? And nothing changed. And so anyway, so I ended up, I got divorced, and then I moved away. I moved to Texas with my daughter. And that was when my mom called me, and she was like, okay, so after I settled in with one of my sisters, and she was like, so are you, are you still in the Jamaat? Are you still gonna like go to the Eids? Cause there was a community in Texas, they were still part of the Jamaat. And she's like, are you still gonna be like functioning? And I was like, no, I'm just done. I wanna like learn how to work and find out what a resume is and like live my life. And she's like, well, Sheikh Jelani said, well, Shaji, Shaji said, if you leave the Jamaat, you're going to hell. And I was like, I've already been there, really. So honestly. And so she was like, and she said it like 3 times, like basically like, do you know what you're saying? You're going to hell. And so that's what I believed. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna have to go because I can't. And so
let me ask a quick question. So, and if I'm seeing like a theme kind of develop where growing up, your whole life, your parents' life, everything was about Sheikh Jelani. You're writing his family fan mail. All their children's birth dates and names. Your parents are sacrificing everything for him, even overlooking their own needs and your needs. And this same type of mentality and lifestyle transitioned very quickly into you having now your own family, and you kind of going through the same thing because now you're in poverty. Your family's still sending money over to Sheikh Jelani, and just perpetuating that poverty situation, all because you're trying to look out or take care of this Shaji and all his needs instead of the needs of yourself. You're blacking out the needs of your children. They need to eat. And your husband needs to take care. The best of men are the ones that are best to their families. It doesn't say the ones that are best to their sheikh. And he's neglecting those needs to take care of his sheikh. Now, at one point, didn't you go to one of the leaders, Hussein Adams, and basically confide in him and ask him for help and assistance? And then didn't he tell you some things about, tell us about that situation?
Yeah. Oh no, I used to talk to him all the time, just about my ex-husband and I. We were both like really close to him, as I considered us at the time. And I think at one point I did tell him, like, I don't think this Jamaat is for me, or like, I want to leave. And he basically left me under the impression, I guess, that something was obviously wrong with me, and maybe I was like possibly possessed. And like, how could I dare think of ever leaving the community? And this is right after I found out that my son, he's 11 now, he was little then. That's when I found out and told Khalifa Hussein that my son had autism. So after I told him that, I don't remember his response to that, but after I confided in him about like, maybe I should leave or whatever, and he's like, listen to like what you're saying, like, and you wonder why your son is in the condition that he's in. So now, because of my, I guess, sins, or because I want to leave the community, or because I'm just so horrible that my son has autism. Autism runs in our family. All my nephews have autism. I mean, they grow you after a certain age.
Right.
But, yeah, that was really profound to me. That's why it stuck with me, because like, you don't say that to somebody. Like, just be cool. It's not. Yeah. Anyway, but yeah.
Now, did through this, like, where were like your parents in this whole situation? Were they there to provide assistance? Were they there giving you advice? Like, what was the? Because I know you love your parents. Like every child loves their parents. Did you feel that love and support growing up and through the difficulties you were going through your marriage?
I reached out to my mom 2 weeks after I was married, and I said, Mother, I know we're not compatible. I don't want to be with him. And so she was basically like, you know, I wasn't like crying or anything, but I was just telling her, like, I know this, like, before anything happens, before any pregnancies or anything, like, I know this isn't going to work out. And she was like, no, you know, you married, you know, for Allah's sakes, you know, learn to work it out or whatever. And so there were a few times I called my mom just crying because of like the extreme poverty. And then because we got married so randomly, and basically we took over my two little sister-in-laws, we kind of took over their bedroom. Everything was rushed in. So nobody was happy with that. And his mom never wanted me to marry him anyway. And his mom's a good person, but she never wanted me. She knew we weren't a fit, you know? And so I was mistreated because the mom didn't want me to marry them. The big sister didn't. And the two little sisters were like, we want our bedroom back, you know? So it just wasn't easy. So a few times I called my mom, like crying, like, we're poor. Can you do anything about it? And it was like, no, well, you know, these are the sacrifices you make as a Muslim and all this. With my dad for support, I was married for, I think, almost 6 years. And I always need money or diapers or something. Oh my gosh. Anyway, it was just really tough. So my father, through my whole 6 years of being married, only sent me $20 through that whole marriage. And when he sent it, he was like, tell Muhammad Salim to send it back on Friday. Like, there was no love or support.
So let me just chime in here just a little bit, because I know what the haters are going to say. I know what the some of the trolls, and I'm trying to check the comments just to see if there's anything that people are asking or whatever. But the thing is about this situation is that I hope the people in Tmoa can clearly see that here we are, we have a sister of ours who has spent at least 6 years in a situation in which there was extreme poverty, and we're not blaming her, we're not blaming her husband or whatever. These situations are there. So that's one clear example of the money that's being sent out. You know, it should never pass by your neighbors and your family, your friends, and even blood relatives in which they actually need things. I mean, I'm embarrassed for, you know, the people that were in that community that, you know, had turned you away after asking. I don't think that they, you know, it should have reached that point. But that's one thing that is unfortunate. So for those people say, why are we, maybe they're thinking, okay, she's just telling her personal thing. That's a personal issue, but it's not a personal thing, because when we say, oh, it's a community and the Shaji is here to guide all of mankind, and he knows what's in your, you know, even telling people that their wives should cover up inside of their homes. Why didn't he know that you didn't have any food for yourself and your children? You know, if he knows, you know, what burqa you're wearing, or whether you're wearing hijab or not, or whatever's going on inside of your home, because people have been told this, tell your wife to cover up because I can see her in her home. What's he doing looking in her home anyway? But still, you know, if he knew these types of things, I mean, this should never happen. So for the person, any person still in Tmoa that is taking money and sending it to anyone, to Noor, any of these people running around here, these people that are allegedly Ahlul Bayt, all this money, there are people who are in situations like this that you are neglecting. And wallahi, you know now that you know, and it's on you. If you have discretionary income in which you can give freely to someone who doesn't need it, buy them ATVs and Sequoias and these nice vehicles and just send money and gifts and these things, and you haven't done your due diligence to even look around the corner to the people who live with you and you're giving salams to, wishing peace upon them, and you can't even take the effort to see if they need something, Allah will punish you for continuing to do that if you don't do your due diligence. I will say that, and I stand by that 100%. Also, something, and I won't say that, I'll just say this: some people are very prideful. I know in some of my conversations and speaking with your ex-husband, and I don't want to put him on blast or anything like that, but like he would say things like, Abuji said we should never get menial jobs. So so part of it could have been, and he had this idea in his mind, and it was because he would say all the time, Abuji said this and that and other. So working as a janitor, he was never going to do. He wasn't going to take a job that was menial. And I would always say, but if you don't have the skills for some nice, job that educated people have, then you either get educated, but if you're not, then you have to take a menial job. You just have to do them. And Abuji said we shouldn't do these type of jobs because we're above that. We're not above that because we don't have the skills above that. So maybe not just to pile on him, but I'm sure there's other people in that same situation that perhaps maybe they didn't take it to the extreme, because I consider him and a few of other my companions in Tennessee that were very, they really like whatever they heard or thought Abuji said, they literally would take it all the way. They wouldn't question it, they would run with it. And he was one of those. So therefore, I think one of the situations probably maybe is that he wouldn't take certain jobs because he felt that he was above them. And also I would ask, the thing that goes through my head is that I know people in Tennessee that were on food stamps, they were getting government assistance and things like that. So, were those things not an option?
Yeah, with us, at one point we got food stamps, and what happened? So we didn't, because we lived so far, you know where the Dover land is, it's away from everything. And I think like the closest grocery store was Piggly Wiggly's. So everything's overpriced there. And I think we were getting like $300 or $400 a month, I can't remember, with food stamps. So I would go there like once a month with that, because he had the car in the city. So I would go with somebody and we would like buy it. I would like buy the food for a month, but I just didn't budget it right, because it was overpriced. So I ended up spending it all. And it was like, we just ran out of it. I have it was just, and when you're in that mindset of poverty and stuff, things just go anyway. Like things just, it's really weird.
Do you think that was part of that? That's also a thing, like when you have a person who has not had the time or experience, maybe that, like running a household and like, budgeting and feeding kids. I can see how a person new to that maybe may, mismanage the funds a little bit, while it might, not stretch it or whatever the case may be. So do you think that part of it was because you didn't have that skill set yet to budget properly, that factored in?
For sure, yeah, I didn't have the skill set, and I was buying like salmon and stuff like that, because I had to keep it halal. So, when you buy salmon from Piggly Wiggly's, that it just didn't work.
It is expensive.
Yeah, and honestly, I can't really remember. I just knew that we were always broke, and we didn't get like food stamps till like way later, like years down. I think we were trying like not to get it, but we needed it. It's for people like us who have kids who didn't have any money. But sometimes there was a mayor, I forgot his name. There was like a mayor of that land, and he would give Salim, sometimes he would give him allowance. And I didn't see any of it. I saw him get new Jordans because he was young.
He's a young man, not ready to be married.
Yeah, not ready. And this is years ago. I'm sure, he's could be different now. But you know, so he would be like getting boxes of new shoes and Jordans and stuff in the mail. And the kids were so little, they didn't even need shoes. They were just like in onesies. And
Right.
we just didn't have any money like at all. And it was hard.
Now, I know there was times like I've done some really dumb stuff during my times in Tmoa as a father and as a husband, and neglecting my family for the sake of the Jamaat or following Jelani's orders or whatever. Like we had a five member family living in a camper, because Jelani said everybody has to move on the land in 24 hours, and we just did it. So were there times, like I know a lot of things that young men, even older men in Tmoa, would do is they would have a job, they'd be getting their lives together, and then like a retreat would come up or something would like, K2 would say, hey, you have to go this place or that place, and you just quit your job and leave and put your family in the lurch while you go and spend a month in New York doing a retreat. Was there any of that going on?
Yeah, every retreat. It was like go to this retreat, quit your job if you have to, this is the retreat that all your sins will be forgiven. So he like quit his job for every retreat. And I think at one time, there was like a lady having a baby in Tennessee. And I think she had some complications or something. And Sheikh Jelani called somebody and said, like, get a good reciter or someone who knows Quran well and make him, have him recite over her so the baby can come out. And he quit his job. No, actually, he just left his job to go recite over this woman having the baby. And he got fired for leaving his job. And we were back to square one, and our cars kept getting repossessed, if not crashed up. They just kept getting repossessed. And so that's what really like pushed me to the divorce, which, pushed me to like leaving MOA. And that's not like an excuse. This is just my story. This is what happened. So,
yeah. I want to point out just some of the things that I'm getting from this interview. And I really want to hone in on the part of our responsibility as parents to protect, to nurture, to prepare our kids for real life. And it seems like, may Allah guide your parents and bless your parents and get them out of this indoctrination that they have. But it really seems like they failed you. Like many of us, and I'm not saying that to be condescending to them or any other Tmoa parents, because I failed a couple of my children because they're still believers in the cult, and I'm doing my best to try to guide them. So how does this, like, in the situation, like, we can go more into your story, but I want you to just tell people how you feel as now an adult who you have your own children and you know what you went through because of the neglect or let's just say the misdirections your parent had brazen you. What can you tell the people that are listening, or your parents that will probably listen to this? What do you want to say to them as far as like your experiences and what you want out of them?
Well, my parents, if they are listening, because to me, the only thing that really affected my parents is if we did something against Shaji and that embarrassed them. Other than that, like our needs and stuff, me and all my sisters, they were not interested in that at all. And parents, if you are listening to this, they're in their 80s. I don't know if they're going to be on YouTube, but I feel like this will be the only time they will pay attention, because it's like, I'm like speaking out against them, because my voice, I don't have a voice with them. And this is the first time that I'm like going public or whatever, because it's like on the internet. But I've tried writing letters, phone calls. I even got, I guess, approved to go on the Yamla Fix My Life show, where they do like family intervention, because our family needs like some kind of, needs therapy. So I wanted like my mother and a few of my sisters to go on the show. And, I still have the contract and everything in my email, and I started the first half of the interview and all that. But of course, my mom's not ever going to get on the show. My sister pulled out and was like, you need to be worried about your kids. And I'm like, I am, believe me, because I've just made choices that I would have never made, like if I had a brain of my own and if I had confidence and if I loved myself. But I had to teach myself how to do that. But For my parents, I don't even have anything to say to them. I don't feel like they're going to hear me unless like Sheikh Jelani himself said, hey, listen to her. But he's resting now. So I don't think it even matters like at all.
Well, I will say to you, and hopefully Mubarak can give me some Islamic context to this, but I know that there is a lot of blessings in reconciling relationships, and just it's a tremendous blessing that you get for just attempting to do it. So you reaching out to them, I would suggest that you don't stop doing that, because even if they never respond, everything you do is going to get rewarded by Allah. And just for them, even if they're cynical about reconciling or whatever, even if they just give it a shot, if they're listening, I would encourage them to do that, because you at least get the blessings from Allah. So even though Sheikh Jelani might not be telling them to do whatever, this is what Allah and Rasulullah is telling them to do, is to reconcile relationships. And I know for myself, as being a parent, we get very prideful on certain things, but as children, and your parents are very, getting older, when we get older, we become more like kids, right? And, you have to think about that. Like, look at your parents as you look at your kids, and the effort you put in for your own kids. Think about that with your parents, and just keep at it, and just know that Allah is going to reward you for everything you do. But one question popped in my head is, right, may Allah grant your parents with long life and guide them and take them away from the falsehood that they're upon. But when the time does come, will you be allowed to even attend their funeral if they're buried on the land?
I'm sure I won't be allowed to attend their funeral. And at this point, where I am in my relationship with my parents, I don't even know if they would want me to be there, because I'm not a hijabi. I wear a hijab sometimes now that I'm like praying again and all that. And I want to respect your platform, but it's not like, it's not my thing. And that's a big deal to them. Like, a piece of fabric is a bigger deal to them than my well-being, So like, and as far as reaching out to them, they will respond. Okay, they'll respond if I say, if I say hello or something like that. But they have to be in control of the conversation. They're trying to reel me back into the cult. Or it's like, I could never just tell them like a real life story, just like, oh, this is what happened at work today. It's never that. It's like, well, Shaji said, and it's going to be too late. You better come back. And it's just like, I can't have a conversation with them. And, and I think what, I guess, drew the line with me in them is last year I'm in New York now. And my mom, we actually were talking a little bit. I was like, well, I'm in New York, and I was so glad, because like I can have I have both of my kids can see. I have 3 kids, but I have 2 kids with my ex-husband, Salim. So I was like, well, we can both be in their lives. I'm in New York, and I was like excited. So I told my parents about that, and they're like, okay, that's nice. And then all of a sudden my mother just stopped texting me. I don't know what happened. Like a month went by, and then I said something to her. She didn't respond. And then I'm scrolling through Instagram and I see pictures of my mother and father here in New York with my Christian and Jehovah Witness cousins that live in New York. Like, you came up here to New York and you knew me and your grandkids were here, and you didn't tell me because you didn't want to see me, so much so that you were like, let's not tell her we're in New York. And I'm scrolling and I see cousin Kim and cousin Paul, and I'm like, when did you see my parents? And they're like, oh yeah, Grandpa Frank or Farouk was here. And I'm just like, and I'm laughing at it, but that hurts. It hurts because they were right up here, and it's just like, they did not want to see me. Me not wearing a hijab is very offensive to them. And so
do you think it's more the hijab or more the fact that you're just not in the Jamaat anymore?
Definitely the Jamaat.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I would say this, and Jafar kind of already kind of touched on it as far as between your parents, and this is in the most respectful way towards your parents, but this reaction is due to their ignorance, and I don't say that like in a bad way. They just don't know. The only thing that they do know is that this limited scope of Islam that they have is cloudy, and it's misdirected. So the seeing the hijab is one thing that they can identify that you are still, you know, I don't want to say valuable, but that you are still that kind of is a validation for them, I think. And so because they don't really have, because as you know, lots of us have these similar experiences, and this is not my show, it's your show. So I won't go into how similar these things are, but I think for our parents like that, they don't have the tools and sometimes even the education, the background to be able to reach
my mom was educated though. Before she threw her life away to MOA, she was actually like in, you wanted to laugh just now. No, but she was like in newspapers and everything. She used to like be something in the little community she was in. She, you know, before she.
So when I say education, I mean like as far as Islam is concerned, you know, and so they you know, a person, it's like the if I can digress just a little bit, it's like the hadith of the person who killed 99 men. It's a person who killed 99 men. The man killed 99 people. He comes, have you heard this already, or if it's redundant? Okay, so the person, it's in the time of Musa alayhi salam, or after, between Musa and Isa alayhi salam, right? The prophets. Anyway, so the person comes, he has killed 99 people. He's a murderer. He's like one of the worst people on the face of the earth. He takes people's heads off easy or whatever. He wants to change his life and get his life back together. He goes to a person, a pious person, a worshiper, someone who's a worshiper, right? He's someone who, to his understanding, practices religion exactly the way he should. And these are the way our parents are. These are the way Tmoa people are. Some of them don't even practice according to Tmoa, but some of them, they really adhere as closely to whatever Jilani says as they can. And they're like this. So the man goes to the worshiper and says, you know, listen, I have killed 99 people, but I want to turn my life around. What can I do? You know, he's like, what? You killed 99 people? Allah will never forgive you. So that man did what? He killed him too. So he killed 100. Because he's like, oh, if there's no hope there, then I'll kill you too. But the point is that person, though he thought he was a pious worshiper and he was practicing Islam according to where he thought he was, he did not know how to deal with a person who needed help, or who was practicing a little differently than him, or whatever the case may be. So he wasn't able to meet that person, even though he himself, according to what people might see, as a person who's practicing well. He didn't have the knowledge and understanding to deal with the person. And so he rejected him. No, Allah won't forgive you. Go away. You can't, instead of seeing that person and being able to help them in a religious way, he couldn't. So the person kills him, that makes 100. Then he goes to a scholar, someone who was knowledgeable of Islam, and said, hey, listen, I have killed 100 people, but I want to get my life together. I want to do the right way. So he gave him some things to do. One of the things he said, you have to move from this place that's giving you all this trouble, that's causing you to be like this, that's this environment. You have to move into a cleaner, a better environment in which so that you can start to get yourself together. So he was on his way to do that, and he died before he was able to make it to that place. And he died closer to the place where he was doing all the wrong in than he was to the right place. To make the long story short, that Allah moved the dimensions of the earth for this person to make him closer to the place in which he would have found mercy there. So Allah always has his mercy extended to you, regardless, really. I mean, no one here, you surely have not done anything worse than killing 100 people. Yet there's always that. It should be extended to you, especially from the parents or those family members or close ones, people who care about you, should be constantly trying to help you with the basic things. It's like, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, what they teach you in like high school or college or whatever, where that base layer, that food, clothing, food, shelter, water, warmth, these type of things. If a person doesn't have those met, then you can't really reach any of these higher things about spirituality and stuff. Rasulullah said that poverty will turn a person to kufr. It will make a person to want to leave Islam or do things against Islam because of the poverty. Rasulullah says that. So I say that I know that you have a soft spot for your parents, and try to be even easier and even softer towards them because they don't know. And I'm feeling that way because of the way that they have dealt with you so far. And hopefully they will come around.
Really? Me and all my sisters I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No.
I might talk forever if you don't jump in. So go ahead, please.
Yeah, no, and I do love my parents. I love them the only way I know how, you know, but I just wish that they would have, even if we weren't Muslim, like God forbid, you can't just send your kids out into the world, or you can't just get them married and not teach them anything. Like I just didn't know anything at all, you know, about being a wife, or about even before I reached puberty. Like I didn't even know the first thing about puberty at all. And I had to figure that out by myself too. And that's just so, it's hard. It's so hard. And I feel like it made me a better mother, because I mean, I have 2 daughters. I have one in my life right now, but it's an open case, so I can't like say anything. But it just it made me a better mother, because you got to teach your kids about just hygiene and marriage and how to raise kids. Because, you know, I grew up 14 years, we lived in Michigan, and so we had a farm, and it was beautiful. I mean, we had a farm, we had a really nice garden, and a well to get our water from. But that's all I knew were the sheep, like zucchinis in the garden, and the freaking well. And then with that, and then at the retreats, you learn how to just submit to your husband, who doesn't actually know how to be a husband. And then we learn all these Pakistani culture. Like we learned a lot of Pakistani culture because the sheikh was Pakistani. So we're learning how to perfectly circle roti and have the roti on the right side of the plate, and learning how to make aloo paratha and chicken tikka. And it didn't do anything for me in this world. Learning how to make roti, it didn't do anything for me as far as, like, you know, becoming independent or and all of that. Even I think I told Amr, actually, the first time I filed for my taxes, I think like was 5 years ago, I literally didn't know what a check stub was, because who was talking about that where I grew up? Like, so when I started getting paid, I would just tear it off the check and just throw it away, because what is it? I just needed to cash my check. So when I filed for my taxes and they were like, where's your pay stub or your check stub? Like, I don't know what that is. So I learned everything through trial and error. And when I tried to become a real estate agent, I couldn't get through the classes because I was so uneducated. When they were like, what's it called? Close when you buy a house, escrow. I didn't know what the word was. There were so many words that I just had never heard of ever. And so for girls that are in the community right now, if you're watching this, and if you're staying in the community because you're too afraid to go out and work or start a life for yourself, which you don't ever have to leave Islam to start a life for yourself, just push through it and watch YouTube videos. Like watch YouTube videos and just figure it out. Just believe in yourself. Like believe in Allah and believe in yourself, because you really are capable of doing anything. Because I went through, I think I told you, Jafar, at jobs when I first started working, like as a waitress, I would go home and have these meltdowns because I knew nothing about anything. And they're like, can I get an Arnold Palmer? And I'm like, who is she? And they're like, well, you know, tea and lemonade. Like I didn't know anything at all. So I would smile. I like smiling anyway, but I would just be like, oh yeah, I never heard of an Arnold Palmer. I'm from under a rock. And so, I would say that to some people, and it depends on the customer too. Like, and so, but when I would go home back to my apartment, I would have these meltdowns, like I told you, like I'm gonna say it, like if you've seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, like when Leo had his meltdown in the trailer because he was a drunk and he couldn't remember his lines studying. And, like throwing things, and he would talk to himself in the mirror like, you're gonna get your lines right, I'm gonna blow your head off. Like I would be talking to myself like that. I was like, you have to figure out how to talk to people. So even though I did high school diploma at home, it didn't teach me social skills, and I was just so far behind on every conversation, every topic. It makes you feel horrible. But I want right quick, if any ladies are watching this and you are staying in the community because you're uneducated and you just feel stupid, you're not. You can get through it. If I can get through it, you can get through it, because now I have like degrees.
Alhamdulillah. So just to get back to the story. So like before you actually left to Texas, and I guess that's when like your journey as far as like working and getting in the real world, how did you actually get the divorce? Like, what was that process? Because I know there's a lot of stuff that goes along depending on who you are in Tmoa, how easy it is to get a divorce, who you have to go through. So what was your experience like?
Okay, well, it took a long time. I had to write a lot of letters. I got a lot of different email addresses. They were like, write Tahir so-and-so, write Didi, this one, write Khadija. I wrote a lot of letters, and then basically I think Shaji like responded to Salim, and he's like, well, you have to take care of your family. That didn't change anything. It was just like a matter of letters. And then they said, well, move from Tennessee, get out of that house, and you know, start fresh, start somewhere. And so we moved to Georgia with his parents. And because his parents moved to Georgia and we followed them, and we moved in their house. And then it got even worse. There were too many people in the house. I was still like being mistreated. We were still like neglected and all that. So I think the whole process, I was writing letters. I don't really know if they granted it. I think I just bounced, honestly.
Oh, wow.
I think that's what happened. Yeah. Because no one was responding. And I was like, okay, how long am I going to write these letters?
And there's a lot of situations like that where, you know, people actually in like, not only like bad situations like that, but compounded with like women are getting beat up by their husbands and trying to get divorces and writing letters and are never responded to, and they just keep going and then they just leave, you know.
Yeah.
So
I think
so if I can ask a question real quick, and I hope this is not out of bounds, but it's just something that it's something that's common thrown at people in Tmoa if they do anything that's, you know, if they leave, they speak out or whatever, they make it seem like that they have some sort of either jinn possession or some mental issue or whatever. But some of the things that I did hear kind of, you know, around the way is that the reasons for the split and some issues or whatever during and after your first marriage was because you were suffering from some mental issues. So could sometimes people have some mental breaks or whatever, and then they, you know. Okay, so were you suffering from some mental issues or whatever, or is that, you know, just a story that is told to make the people involved maybe seem a little better?
I never heard that one. I heard that I cheated, but even my ex-husband knows that didn't happen. I never heard the mental story though. No, they were saying like, I mean, like K2 said, like I could have been possessed or something when I called him to confide in him. And I think, what happened? Gosh, I don't think so. There was one retreat like after, I don't know, maybe it was like 2012, I think, of the retreats. And what did I say? I was having weird dreams or something weird was happening. Now that I've been through so much drama, I can't even remember. But I remember going to both of the Khadijas with their nice looking selves. I went to them and I was like, something wrong with me. I don't know if I was like, I'm having these dreams or like these weird kind of outer body experience. Yeah, something weird was happening. And I was like, I feel like I'm here. I feel like I'm in a dream state. That's what I told them. And they were like, you're probably possessed. And they acted like nasty about it. Like they were like mean. I feel like if somebody came to me and said that they feel like they're in a dream state or what is something going on, you should be like polite, like let's get you through. But they were like, you're probably possessed. Like, we don't know. Like, ask Khalifa Hussein. Like, it was just like this real nasty attitude. And I don't know what was going on. Honestly, I was depressed. Is what I think it was.
Could you possibly have been like suffering from like a case of like postpartum depression, which is, you know, which is real? I mean, since you've had 3 children, maybe you've experienced it, but you know, that's like maybe some people like you had a severe case of postpartum depression, like after, you know, the first child or something that lingered or something like that.
Yeah, I don't even know if it was postpartum. I think I know for sure I was depressed. Like I was depressed. No one could tell because I'm happy-go-lucky. So I'm always smiling. Even when I got divorced, people were like, oh, you loved him so much, y'all were so happy. And I was like, no, I love everyone and I'm always happy. It wasn't about the marriage. You know, it wasn't. But I do remember telling them that I felt something was wrong, but they didn't do anything about it.
I think it's more about you know, that as far as any you're to me anyway, I don't see anything of any validity to anybody saying that you were crazy or losing your mind or anything. It's just the whole, you know,
Well,
you're possessed. You're having difficulties with the Jamaat. You're having difficulties in life. Oh, you're possessed. Oh, you're crazy. Oh, you're nuts. Like that's the common go-to. You know, even if people said the same thing to me about when I wrote a letter to the sheikh. Oh, he's crazy. He's possessed. There's something wrong with him. So I wouldn't put any stock in that. I want to know about, okay, so what happened, like, as far as after you separated, you went on your own, you started working, like at that point, were you out the Jamaat, or were you still part of the Jamaat at that point?
No, I was out when as soon as I got divorced, I moved to Texas with my sister, and I was officially out, but I rushed into a marriage, which is when I had my third kid, which is my other daughter, my youngest daughter. So I rushed into a marriage, I think like 2 months after I was divorced, because the only thing I knew was to be married. Like a man has to take care of you, and I'm not against marriage either. Like,
Right.
but when it's done the right way. So so I rushed into a marriage with a stranger who ended up being like a really strict Salafi, and wanted me to, like, you know, conform and start wearing all black and wear the black gloves and all of that. And so when I told him, so long story short, he was 2 hours away, and he was like, you have 2 hours to get out of my house type thing. So I had to figure that out. That's a whole story. And so when I went back to my parents, and this was in 2014, 2015, I don't know. Anyway, I went back to my parents in South Carolina, and they were like, well, you know, you have to go through the steps of the probationary period of like getting back into the Jamaat. And that is when it all started. And so, and I have like this contract, and
yeah, I've seen it. It's
yeah, and they were like, well, you know, I had to go through a probationary period because I married outside of the Jamaat, and because I didn't follow Jamaat dress code. And so,
just to be, I just want to interject real quick so our audience can hear, because a lot of people say we make false claims, and inshallah, we don't make any false claims. But one of the claims that we've made several times before is that it is against Jamaat rules for people, especially women, to marry outside of the Jamaat. And people's like, oh, no, that's not a rule. That's not a rule. But we have in writing that you were on probation, and your violations were 2 violations for, 1, marrying somebody outside of the Jamaat, and 2, not dressing appropriately. So I just want to make that clear.
I can go grab it and put it on camera if you want.
But we don't have to do that. No, we're good.
Yeah, so that's what I you know, those were my violations. And at the time, Ramadan or Ridwan, or one of them, was the mayor on that land, Aunt Saeed. And oh gosh, it's just so, I don't think they wanted me to be a part of it, because I have never been treated that badly, and I had like crazy bosses and everything. But when I tried to come back, like, oh my God, I was treated so badly by everybody. And so it was just like, well, not by everybody. The girls are usually nice, but yeah.
So
but
if I can just jump in real quick, I'm sorry. So did you want to come back because like you didn't have people, or did you want to come back because you thought, okay, I left, but let me get back to the right way of living and believing and doing things? Or which one was it?
It was kind of both. It was because it was all I knew. And I felt like because everything else was going wrong, then maybe this was like Allah guiding me back, like, okay, this is the right path. So when I went back and they gave me the list of what I had to do in order to like officially come back, I had this long mamala, and they're like, you have to watch 8 hours of Sheikh Jelani's discourses. You have to like do all these zikrs. And I have all of it like on paper. Saeed signed it. Somebody extraordinarily small signed it. I think Salahuddin. But he signed it, my mom signed it, and they were like, you have to, you know, watch Sheikh Jelani on this tape, do the dhikrs, and you know, we'll keep an eye on you. But I didn't know that I was pregnant with my second daughter. Like I didn't know. And so when I started to like get sick and realize, okay, I'm expecting, I was terrified, because I was like, oh my God, the probationary period is almost up, but am I gonna be like allowed, like I'm coming back and I'm like freshly divorced from the Salafi guy, and I'm pregnant. It was just like a mess. I really didn't know what I was going to do. And so I don't even know how Saeed found out I was pregnant. I think he was just like, she's putting on some weight, and he like, because I don't even think I told him, like, for real. But
Hawkeye.
And so and so they were like, well, now you can't come back to the land. It was just a lot. I just remember a lot of heartache.
Hold up. So they told you, once they found out that you were pregnant, they told you couldn't come back to the land?
Yeah, I couldn't come back to the land. Sorry, my phone is dying, and I had it fully charged. I think it's because the camera is like, it doesn't last. It doesn't last too long. Yeah. Let me see. I don't know if I can like plug it in and it's gonna.
You got a charger there?
I do. I know I have the charger here, but I don't know if it's gonna. I'll give it
you can how about we take a brief little break, and you can plug it in, set it all up. So I don't want you to die on us because it doesn't look like it's gonna.
Could I turn it sideways?
Yeah, I think you can.
Yeah, I think you can. With technology.
Try it.
Let's see.
See if it adjusts.
Yep. It goes to portrait mode or landscape.
Okay.
There you go.
I forgot you were on here, Amr.
It is me in the background.
How's Amina?
Alhamdulillah, she's doing fine.
She doesn't remember me, but I miss her. She what?
She's living her life in Morocco.
Really? Yeah. Why is she so cool? Let me see if
she
I can.
Is.
I'm gonna see if I can. Is this a weird angle? Because brothers don't mind. Like brothers put the camera right under their beards and they're fine with it. Like, like I needed to not be that.
Are you firing shots at us?
I'm so sorry, but I just
literally there is no real preparation to get started. We're literally like 1 minute before the show. It's like, okay, we're still just throw the camera on. Like, can you see me? Okay, go. So,
oh God!
Like the minute up, he's like, Jaffer, where's the link at? It's like it's 8:30. Oh, here.
So, but yeah. So I mean, I think yet another red flag of the million for Tmoa is that a woman who is any other society, just in American society in general. I mean, the government at least pretends to, like, if a woman is pregnant, I mean, one thing that they do is they almost automatically, I know in Tennessee, they automatically get free health care. Like they get insurance right away. Like literally you just be like, they're pregnant or whatever. And they say it's like, this is a person that we need to make sure they're taken care of. So for them to find out that you're pregnant and like do the opposite, like, oh, you can't be here. It's like, that's odd because I mean, of course they knew that you were married before, but even, I mean, the point is that's not even the main issue. The issue is that a woman who is with child is vulnerable. Both of those people, the child to be and the woman, are in a situation in which they need to have some care, to make sure that both of them stay healthy. So just normal good people usually, they would find a way to take in or to make sure that a woman in that situation is cared for. That they did the opposite. I think even the biggest apologists, which we have a big apologist in the comment section, which we'll have to deal with later. I won't interrupt your story to deal with that person because they don't deserve it, but they need to be dealt with. But I think that even the biggest apologists would say that women who are with child and children, you always, take the extra step to take care of them. So for them to literally be like, you gotta go, is
and there was still more. It was like, you gotta go. And then, and with my parents too, it was so, and I keep bringing them up because like as a kid, that's all you just know your parents. And so when you don't have them and you go to them because you need them, it's just, I don't know, it just hurts that much more. So but it wasn't just that. After I started showing and everything, I had the baby and I was coming from the hospital. It was like her first checkup or something, and I had my sleeves rolled up. I had on like this long burqa or whatever, and I had one of my sleeve was pulled up, and then I was like in horrible condition. I had appendicitis right after I had her. And I think a lot of all these problems that were going on, were from stress, because now like I'm like so healthy. Alhamdulillah. So I like anyway, no, I had appendicitis, but my mother said that Shaji, you know, doesn't want us going to the hospital unless we absolutely have to. And I was so brainwashed that I wanted to do everything I could to get back in with the Jamaat and get back in with my parents. So when she said, don't go to the hospital, even after my appendix burst, for 5 days, I stayed in the house like in pain for 5 days because I didn't know. And she was like, it could be anything, you know, it could be stress, it could be whatever, but, you know, just take painkillers. And I had this baby, I had a newborn baby that I didn't even know how to love myself. So I honestly did not know how to love my new baby girl. Like I said, my story is very dark, so I'm trying to keep it light. So I was in all this pain. So I remember I came out of the hospital for her first checkup, and didn't know I had appendicitis. I'm carrying the thing you carry babies in, the car seat.
Right.
I'm carrying the car seat, and Saeed happens to be in the parking lot. Saeed was the mayor at the time. He happens to be in the parking lot of of the hospital, and he's sending my Umi messages. Your daughter's forearm is out, and like she knows it, like literally. And I was limping, like I was a mess.
Wait, this guy knew you were pregnant before you were showing. He's spotting forearms.
He was doing the most, like he was doing the most. Oh my goodness. And so, you know, but after a while, after the 5 days, I was in so much pain that I had to go to the hospital. And the surgeon was like so mad at me. He was like, I know by your white blood cell count that you were like in terrible pain. Why didn't you come in here earlier? Like, why didn't you come? And I was like, well, we don't really believe in going to the hospital in my religion. And I'm trying to explain. So I ended up in the hospital for 4 weeks because they had to put like this tube thing in to drain the poison out. And then it was just a mess. And my mom didn't walk me through any of that. Nobody did. It was just me going through. Oh, my sister came, Bia. Hi, Bia. She came from California, and she like helped me out like with the baby and all that. But even with the baby, it was like I didn't feel like I could take care of her. Like I really didn't believe it. And so that's what happened. There was an adoption, and then there's like the process of me getting her back. And it's just a whole like a really sad story. But even still, I'm in such a better place now that God, I wish I was having my kids now instead of back then. Like now that I actually know how to think.
Yeah.
But it was a lot.
So at what point, because there was like with the whole thing of, you know, again, your parents being indoctrinated into this, you know, you started working in their household, right? And then like they had a problem with that, and they said that you had to get married.
So let me just start from the bottom. So I was like, I wasn't trying to get married. I just had this new baby. I was trying to figure out like what to do with her. I knew I wasn't like allowed to work, or they were saying like Shaji says Sheikh Jelani says the unmarried women shouldn't work. And so I started applying for jobs anyway, because I'm like, I had my one daughter with me and then a newborn, I have to work. So I applied at Walmart. And I think I did tell my mother that I applied at Walmart. And then they got like Salimullah and all these little people, these tiny people on the council involved with our family. And they were like, well, Salimullah says like, if you're selling alcohol or bacon, like, you know, I don't know what they said. Maybe my salat wouldn't be accepted or something, but maybe there's a waiver you can sign. Like all of these things, they were like, it was just so extreme when I just needed an income to take care of my family. That's all I wanted to do, you know? Right. So basically they were saying like, no, you can't work there. So when I ended up getting hired, anyway, I ended up getting hired at Walmart, and my mother heard me on the phone saying like, yes, I'll come in for orientation or whatever. And so she came in the room and was like, who was that on the phone? That was Walmart. Like you got a job. And I was like, yes, Umi, like I tried to stand up for myself. I have these 2 kids, like I have to work, like please. I was so scared of her. And I was like, please let me work. And she was like, she basically wreaked havoc. She was like, you're not working, okay? You're gonna embarrass the family. Shaji's gonna find out that my child is working, you know, after the unmarried woman thing. But before that, if you want to like rewind it back, they were actually trying to get me married to literally anyone. You know, it was right after I had the baby, and it was like, you're unmarried, you have these kids, let's find her a husband. They weren't considered about my mental health. nothing. It was just like, let's find our husband. He's going to take care of you.
So if I can ask, at any time during this this stretch that you just covered just now, was any assistance offered from TMOA, from the Jamaat, or because like these little people, as you say, these council members and stuff, did any of them say, okay, sister, young lady, unmarried, single, let's offer you some assistance?
Not at all. No assistance. In fact, I don't think they wanted me to if you're trying to be like a part of be a club member of something, and I don't think they wanted me a part. I think they really, really just wanted me to go. Like, you don't pay percent. You're coming here with these kids, like, go away from us. Like, that was the whole vibe. It was like, go. And I could feel that. And my babies could feel that too. And so, and then with my parents, it was just like, oh my God, please get her married. It was just like, it was horrible. And even on my little contract, my probationary contract, it was like, if you do get employment, like, pay your percentage, which at the meeting, they said 35%, And so my parents were trying to get me married to, they were finding the dirt of the earth. Like, anybody, they were like digging up the old LP from a long time ago and where's the brother who used to live up underneath the floorboards? Like, they were just trying to find anybody, like literally anyone. They were just like, please get her out of here. But do you know how that hurts? Like, how bad that hurts your heart? Like, I just felt so unloved. And so I ended up, I forgot about this. I told you, Jafar, but I didn't tell, I forgot about this. I did marry someone secretly. I married someone's husband. This brother had 2 wives, and we snuck off to a mosque in North Carolina, and we got married for 1 day. Is this really my story? Like, I feel like I was a whole different human. Like, as I'm telling the story, it doesn't even feel like it was me. But this brother, we snuck off and got married at this mosque in North Carolina. There's proof of it. Like, there was a sheikh, imam, who married us, and he has pictures of my license and his license and everything. They copied it. I remember the
Are we allowed to say the brother's name? It wasn't marriage. It's not anything bad.
I guess. I just don't want anybody coming at me because I'm not responding. Like, I have a whole life. I'm not gonna be.
What do you think, Mubarak?
what do I think about
married for a day?
about the man's name.
Oh, the man's name. Is it a TMOA person?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I
think he only has 1 wife now.
Yeah. Well, if you don't mind saying the person's name, I
don't even want that energy in my home.
Yeah, it's okay. It's
that's up to you.
You don't have to. I don't know that it just for people's interest, maybe they want to know, but honestly, it was
one of the Shaheeds. It was one of the older Shaheed brothers, and so I ended up marrying him at some mosque, and we were married for a day. We never did consummate the marriage, gross, and that never happened. And then the next morning, he sent me a message, and he was like, "I said talaq 3 times. Basically, I can't do this. Good day." And so I was
this, and I don't want to. I just want to kind of just repeat what just happened, so people that's watching can really understand, because we're smiling, we're joking about it, but it is really,
it's dark.
Yeah, exactly. So like, we have this whole backdrop of all the poverty, all the trauma that you're going through. A woman just had a baby, just went through appendicitis, and I've had that, and that's horrible. Going through adoption, like all these different things, trying to get a job, trying to get on your feet. Your parents are just like trying to find anybody. Hey, marry my daughter, marry my daughter, marry my daughter. They find some guys that, yeah, I'll do it. And then you get shoved off to some random guy that you're not even interested in. You go have a secret wedding outside of the Jamaat, so people in the Jamaat don't know about it. And then you don't even consummate the marriage, which, alhamdulillah, it worked out actually in your favor. But still, there's a mental, psychological thing going on here. And then, like, you get dumped via text message, which is like where at what point do we, as if you're looking watching this being a TMOA member, at what point do you say, we did not do this lady right? At what point do you say we did not honor this woman? At what point would you say we did not protect this lady? Like, because this at this, and it gets, I mean, there's a lot more to it because I heard your story, and this is just bits and pieces of it, but
yeah,
especially from like the parental aspect, the administrators, the leaders, like, when are you going to step up and actually protect the people that you're supposed to be taking care of? That's what a community is. A community is supposed to protect everybody in the community. You know, if you want to go back to like tribes, and people got together and formed together in tribes so they could protect each other from other people. And this is not happening where
I think this show, and sorry to cut you off, Joe.
No, go ahead.
I think this show and last week really highlighted how the women are really, they're not protected. I would say in some cases are treated like trash, less than trash.
Like
I mean, people get more now, and honestly, all jokes aside, I have seen people have real serious arguments about the trash on the land and who's taking it. You didn't take my trash. How could you leave the land with taking the trash off the land? You didn't take mine and stuff like that. But less seems to be, these arguments don't seem to happen about a lady or a family being treated like trash. And no one's even getting emotional about it. Basically, like, you know, if they do know about it, it's like, you know, I don't care, you know, it's someone else's problem. It's you know, the last week's show, it really took a lot of energy out of me. I just it was emotionally draining because of how bad these people are treated. And, you know, for you to have been like literally in the same place as us, and just when we were living there, I remember us trying to do, not to put to go back, but I remember we would try to do certain things. I mean, sometimes we would literally just like leave money, like a few dollars here and there, to where you know, your husband could find it, because sometimes people are too proud to ask or to accept, you know, some funds. But I think that if it had been known, like really how bad it is that you're saying, because literally, wallahi, we did not know. We didn't know. Maybe some other people knew, but we didn't know. But it's embarrassing. I think these last couple of shows really, if anybody in TMOA can really find a way to justify these type of things going on, it really shows that you really have, I mean, no heart, no common sense, or not any good qualities. Because one thing about a society, and especially for the men, one thing that's a mark of being men is that you take care of and you protect the women. And it's just so clear, and it's painfully obvious that the women are just really not being protected in the way that they should, last week and this week. So it's just
not protected, not loved. But and I don't even think it was you guys' responsibility. I really think that, like, I think it starts in your home. If your parents are like, you know, and I would get so sad because I would see movies when like the bride is getting married and the father shakes the groom's hand and he like squeezes his hand, like, you take care of my daughter. Like, I never got that. It was just like, please get her off our hands, because we're trying to send our money to Sheikh Jelani. Like, we're not trying to raise her, you know, and it just, and so you kind of carry that around with you. You carry around that energy of, well, they don't love me and I'm not worth it. You just carry around, you're not worth it. And you just put that off on other people. So everybody treats you like you're not worth it. I mean, I wish somebody would now. Like, to me, I already proved to myself who I am. And if a woman in TMOA is watching this and you want to leave and you end up leaving, don't be embarrassed to get a therapist or 2 or 3, because you need somebody to walk it through it, to just, you know, somebody to help you understand how to teach you how to reinvent yourself. Get like a American therapist to do that. Get a Muslim therapist to help you, because I have a bunch of therapists, but get like a Muslim one to help you learn like true Islam, and get a therapist, because you're not well when you leave TMOA. Like, you're just not, there's no way. The extreme poverty, like, don't be embarrassed to get a therapist. I want to be a therapist, you know, to help people who leave cults. And
Alhamdulillah.
And let them know, you know, that they're okay. Even if you just get a therapist to be your cheerleader, just to say like, you're good, you can get through this. Get some
Now, this gonna be, I'm gonna do this little plug just for so people that are listening, and especially the young people that are out there listening, like there are services out there for Muslims to get to talk to people that have experience with this type of stuff, that know, you know, professional therapists and stuff. One of the organizations is Face Abuse Together. I put their link in the chat. You can contact them. They offer free services. If you don't even want to go that route, if you just want to start small, we have, there's men, women of all ages in R2F that if you just want to talk to somebody and just, you know, get pointed in the right direction, we offer that as well. So, and this deals directly with the situations that you have encountered. R2F now is in a position where I'll say the first thing is we need help. It's the stuff that's coming down is growing at such a fast pace that the people that are volunteering our time, sacrificing our families and all these things to kind of combat this, we need more people to be able to do this. And I'm also say that with now we're getting to the point where we will be able to offer assistance financially, safe houses, whatever you could think of. We're getting to that point where when people need to leave and they need some place to go or they need some financial help, we will be in that situation where we can provide that assistance. So if you are that person, please reach out to us and we can try our best to accommodate you with the resources that we have right now. So I just wanted to put that little plug in there. But
yeah,
so
I didn't know
yep.
that. Because and I wanted a friend so bad when I was in that community. Like, please, my apartment is so small, but if there's like a woman who needs somewhere to go, like, please come here and let's be friends, okay? Because you can, if I can get a job and figure it out, like you can too. Because I was like so stupid when I just say I had no common sense at all. And there was a documentary I was watching. I think they call it like House of Monsters or something like that. It's maybe kind of new, about it's like 10 kids that lived in the house and they were abused. And when the girl finally ran, she was like, I was running in the middle of the street because I didn't know to be on the sidewalk. I'd never been outside before. And someone else watching that would be like, it's common sense. Why would you be in the street? But when I watched it, I was like, I understand where she's coming from. I just didn't have any common sense at all. And it just does something to your confidence when you are like that. So it takes work, but we can do it. Like, girl, if a girl is watching this and you want to leave. Like, I don't support you. You know, like, oh God.
So I got another question. So after you had the secret, whatever you want to call it, half marriage with Ismail Shahid, isn't there another? Wasn't your sisters forced into a marriage? As far as like being young and being married to someone who was extremely older?
Oh yeah. Well, a few of my sisters were, I mean, my sister Shamila's marriage was arranged with Ismail. She didn't even know him, Kari Ismail, but Sheikh Jelani told them to get married, and then she kind of had to. But the worst thing, I think, that in one of the earliest abuses that happened, like directly from Sheikh Jelani to our family, was when he ordered or forced the marriage of my sister when she was 12 to marry a brother who I think was like 43, who was involved with the whole Colorado, whatever they did in Colorado, that Sheikh Jelani had them do. And I think the man is still in prison today. Should have been in prison because of the marriage, but I think he went to prison because Sheikh Jelani ordered them to do something. But yeah, my sister was 12 when my parents, Sheikh Jelani, I think, wanted this brother to have more kids, or wanted him to have kids, period. And so the brother was like 43 or 45. I think he had a wife already. Sheikh Jelani called. I think that's when he was like calling America all the time. Maybe he was even in America. And he's like, this brother needs another wife. This is a story my mom told me. This brother needs another wife and to have kids. And my parents agreed. I did not want to get worked up on the show, so it can be like, oh, she's crying. Anyways,
Do you need a break? You can take a break.
It just seems like it was so long ago. It doesn't, I think because my daughter's like almost 12. And so I think that's what's making it, because I've told this story before and it didn't hit so hard. Anyway, so my parents like volunteered her, like, oh, we have a daughter, and she was 12. They knew she was 12. Sheikh Jelani knew she was 12, and they arranged this marriage, and she married this 40-something-year-old man and ended up having 7 kids with him. That's why my nieces and nephews are older than me, because my mom and my sister were having kids at the same time. And then my mother told me that I think like a few weeks later or maybe months later, she called my mom and she was like, Umi, I'm sad, like with this lifestyle. And they were like, my mother didn't know what to say to her as a mother. So she's like, well, I'll call Sheikh Jelani, see what we should do. And this is when they used to contact him a lot. Yeah. And she was like, well, my daughter says she's sad. And he's like, well, buy her some dolls. How old is she? She's 12. Buy her some dolls. And so that was his response to that. And until this day, I don't even know if my mom ever apologized for that. And growing, oh God, for my sister, you guys just make dua for her. I mean, she's cool. She's fine. She's like the best, nicest person. Like if you go to her house, she will make you a full course meal. She's not,
I'm into that.
Yeah, but she'll defend herself. She's, if you do anything against her. But she's, what was I going to say? Back in the day or growing up, my parents kind of made her seem like the bad guy. Like when she grew up and didn't really like care for them because of what they did to her as a 12-year-old. And they're like, we were just following our sheikh, like, she's crazy or whatever. And I hope if she's watching this, I love you so much. I'm sorry that, I'm telling this story. But anyway, and he ended up going to prison, like after she had all the kids. My sister moved to our house in Michigan with her kids. All of us lived together. And so she had a lot of kids, so she wanted to put them in school. She signed them up for school. The school bus came because we lived in the front of the land. The school bus came to the land. Do you know that my father literally told the Michigan authorities of our little community, like she put them in public school after Shaji said no public school, let's get her or she's the enemy. Do you know that they literally put my sister under house arrest and chained her in some abandoned, I think it was like Brother Hussein and Muhammad Ahmed's old trailer, chained her to something, maybe the fireplace. They literally put her in chains after the woman was married at 12 and had 7 kids. She was trying to take care of them and she put them in school and they put her in an abandoned trailer with chains. Like this is what my father allowed and it's what he told the authorities, like, get her. She's doing this against Shaji. And I don't want to get worked up on this show. So somebody make a joke because I want this interview to be able to be watched and for people who missed it to come to YouTube and see it without like a bunch of tears and stuff, but it's just painful.
It's okay, it's understandable. We want to, because there's a few more things that we kind of want to make sure we covered in your arc before we got to. So would you be comfortable taking some questions? Because we have some questions in the chat. We got some questions in the Zoom. We got some questions coming off the side from some people. There's lots of, and there's a wide range of things. So let's take
Ms. Bahudeen's question first.
Ms. Bahudeen wants to call in.
I'll take questions that are smart.
Okay. So
smart. Yeah.
We will like, if we get the questions, we will bring them to you, and you do not have to answer them at all. So just
okay.
Yeah, and Miss Bahudeen could go first, and he's gonna call in. We'll unmute him, or he can unmute himself, and he's gonna ask a smart question.
Okay, who's Miss Bahudeen? Do I know him?
Probably not.
Oh, you're here. Hi.
How you doing?
I'm doing all right.
All right, I had a quick question for you. I've spent quite a bit of time reading about and studying spiritually abusive Islamic groups. Throughout my studies, I've read about and heard about people leaving Islam because of the abuse they had suffered within that group. Generally, women experience more abuse in these groups than the men. You don't need to give me any names or anything like that, but do you know of any other females who left Islam because of the abuse they experienced in Tmoa?
Well, some of my sisters, but I won't say any names, but I do know a few other girls. We don't keep in touch, but I've seen them, man, I can't even say they left Islam, but they definitely stopped like covering. And I think one of my friends that I considered myself close to, she actually joined like the LGBT community. I think she wanted to just distance herself a lot. And she's one of those people, Sheikh Jelani, I think like put on a pedestal for a while and then like it came crashing down. I don't know what she did, but I think, yeah, I know a few girls that left. They left Islam completely because they were like, this is much too much. But we're not, we don't keep in touch or anything.
So do you know of any people who are similar to you who were able to come back to Islam once they understood what true Islam was?
No, I think once you leave Tmoa, you just don't have any interest anymore. And I mean, it's not funny, but I just started coming back around. It's been like 6 years, and I just, you know, reverted back to Islam in November. Like I officially want to start fresh now, but I don't know. Yeah. I hope that answered it. Sorry.
Oh yeah, that did.
All right, alhamdulillah. Shukran, Ms. Baudine.
Do you want to take some more questions, or do you want to continue with the just because I do want to make sure that we cover all, you know, all the main points of your story that you want to get out there before we take the questions, because we don't want to because sometimes the questions might drag, and we can easily just cut the show off when we start taking questions, but we don't want to cut it off before, you know, everything that you want to get out is out. So
I prefer the questions right now because my story is so dark. It's like, let's just lighten it up, and maybe the questions will have some humor in it or something.
Let's look through. Amr, have you been pulling the questions from the chat? I know I saw a few some ridiculous things.
Yeah, I've been pulling the questions, and she answered them as she was going along. Besides the troll, who we're not going to talk about, she really answered the questions that people have asked. Alhamdulillah. So besides that,
so I got a question for you.
All right, but real quick, if anybody has any legit serious questions, or some questions that really that are pertinent, if anybody has some legitimate questions, you know, I get a lot of questions that come in like DMs. They don't put it in the chat. They put things that come in on the side. Sometimes they don't want people to know who's asking them. They want me to ask them anonymously. So sometimes if I laugh, it's one of those type of questions.
Okay, I got a question that came in on the side.
Okay.
I got one. Could you tell us about the story about the dead cats?
What?
A story about dead cats.
So yes, who asked that? Because I didn't even know I told that to anybody.
I can't say.
That's why the questions come in on the side, because they probably don't want you to know that they know.
This is not funny. This is not funny. And I am a cat lover. I'm an animal lover. So I guess Sheikh Jelani decided that that if you have cats in your house, it invites jinns into your house, and that all black cats are jinns. Just you're a black cat, you're a jinn. And so the word was going on around that Sheikh Jelani said, like, if you have, we shouldn't have cats on the land. Don't invite them in your house, and if you see them, get rid of them. So one day when I lived in Tennessee, I was walking, I think, to the mailbox, and I'm seeing dead cats everywhere. This is not funny. Oh my goodness. I'm seeing cats with their heads blown off.
Oh my goodness.
I don't want to cry. That's why I have to laugh. Like, this is horrible. Wow. Yeah, they were like legit dead cats. And then one of the boys on the land, I was like, what is up with these dead cats? And one of the Tennessee boys, I can't remember, somebody else little, he was like, yeah, Shaji said, like, get rid of the cats because the cats are bringing jinns in the house. I totally forgot about that. That's why I said, who asked that question?
Wow, that's crazy, because in New York, there was a time when they had all these dogs like German Shepherds, and they were like becoming like kind of packy, like forming packs or whatever. But at some point, Jelani had given an order like, oh, there's too many dogs on the land. It just literally went around just shooting dogs in the head, just killed a bunch of dogs, like for no reason. I remember looking at one guy who did it, and like it was so weird because we walked out of Juma, and he just like grabbed his gun. I have cats. I've had dogs growing up, so but it was so disturbing because he just he called the dog up, and dogs are loyal. So like, if they're loyal. So you call the dog up, and the dog's like wagging his tail, like, oh my buddy wants me, and then just ended him right in front of a bunch of people, and we're just like, what the hell are you doing? Sean, you should kill the dogs. It's like, what the hell?
Yeah,
Crazy.
no, that's sick. Oh my God. It's much too much. Yeah, there was a lot of weird stuff. And I don't know, the things that I find funny though were just like how we were so focused on like Pakistani culture. Because like when I left, I had to reinvent myself and create like my own identity, because we didn't really we didn't consider ourselves like Black people or African American, or it's not my family. And I know like we're not the color Black, like I know clearly we're brown, and we didn't come from Africa, if you want to get all technical. But in this country, you're recognized as a Black person when you look like me. But we didn't consider ourselves that. We didn't have a race at all. It was just like Islam is our religion, Sheikh Jelani is our sheikh, and that's all that matters. So we were taught like a lot of Pakistani culture, nothing about Black history, like nothing at all. And so when you leave the house and you don't have any ID, and then you don't have, you don't identify with any race, and Islam is your opinion and everything, you don't have a voice. It's just whatever Sheikh Jelani says. It's really hard to fit into society, or just to be accepted into society, because you're not cool with the Black community because they're like, girl, you don't act like us, you don't sound like us, you don't even know who you are. And then I was bringing in all this like Pakistani culture, and for whatever reason, Sheikh Jelani had us watching all these Pakistani revolutionary movies, Mangal Pandey, Bhagat Singh. Like I grew up watching those. So it was just I just didn't have my own culture like at all. And I thought I was Pakistani, honestly, because that was our culture. My wedding dress was Pakistani, even though it wasn't even mine. But everyone got married in these lengas or whatever they're called.
How long did it take you to get rid of going GG 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 GG?
Everybody gets married in these what are the Sherwanis, and it is Indian style things. Yeah, I know you've seen the book. I can't remember who wrote it, but it was Islamic cuisine, or Islamic whatever food. And literally, it was a book that was supposed that all the ladies had, and my parents would always tell me.
Ghazala magazine?
No. It was like a cookbook or whatever, and it was supposed to be Islamic cooking or whatever the case may be. And my parents would tell my sisters they need to learn to cook from this book, but basically it was just Pakistani food, literally.
Yeah.
So it was always synonymous with basically what we grew up thinking was Islam was just Pakistani culture. And some things that are actually Pakistani culture are un-Islamic. They're not even part of Islam. They're actually against Islam. But we didn't know that. But that's
I seriously thought curry was like the choice of food in Arabia. For some reason.
Yeah, and everybody isn't made to eat curry. I mean, I love curry, but like at those retreats, and the women would cook for the brothers at the retreats, and we're making these big pots of spicy onion curry, and the brothers were like backed up in the woods because their stomachs couldn't even like handle the curry. It's not for everybody. It's Pakistani culture, and then having the roti on the right side of the plate, and just all of it was just was completely Pakistani culture. And
so we have Hanif has called in, and he wants to ask some questions. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay, go ahead, Hanif. Assalamu alaikum. Is he unmuted?
He's here. He's just muted.
How do I unmute him? Oh, there he goes.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sheikh Jafar and Sheikh
salam.
Mubarak, mashallah, and also Nabila, mashallah. Alhamdulillah, salatu wa salam ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa ashabihi tasliman kathira. The very first thing that we say out of our mouths is the praise of Allah Azza wa Jal. And we send salam and salawat upon Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when there is no other way of following, and every other way will be misguided. This is a truth that we are seeing before. I've sat with my companions and we watched this on a 75-inch screen TV with surround sound. And it's not the cinematic of the electronics. It's the cinematic pain in which Nabila is bringing to us. And I don't want to be lost because I've been knowing this young lady for a very long time before she was even married. I spent a lot of time speaking to her, but I want everybody to understand the weight of what's happening right now. What you have heard, you're going to have to go back and look at it again and look past this lighthearted laughter that she has, which is a gift from Allah Azza wa Jalla, that she's even able to laugh like that, and she's not even completely out of her mind. I want to be clear on what we're saying and what I'm saying, and I want to be clear. And I will be releasing something shortly after the new year, and I'll be staying silent till then. I want to be clear in what I'm getting ready to say to the people who need help getting out of looking the Tmoa. You have to look at everything as if everything that you have been taught was a lie and it was not true. You cannot take things that individuals think that are good. Individuals cannot look at Mubarak Jalani as looking at, we don't understand him. Like a lot of the elder generations say, we don't understand Sheikh Jalani, he has to be understood. Well, we bring you forth what the Prophet ﷺ said about this. We will never say anything from our own selves. We have been doing this it's been years now. And so for the people who say, before I even get into my question, even if I even do have a question, and I want to appreciate Sheikh Mubarak and Sheikh Jafar for allowing me this opportunity. For people who say, we don't understand the Sufi Sheikh, he's at a level that has to be understood, and only a few people from the unseen esoteric world can understand it. We bring you forth what the Prophet ﷺ said, and the hadith is authentic. Prophet ﷺ said, he said, قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, من يريد الله خير يفقهه في الدين. Whenever Allah wants good for someone, he gives them the understanding of the religion. That's what Allah said. Allah gives the understanding of regular people to the religion. This means that automatically destroys that. So the people that's in here that listen to these people say these things, and sometimes it's confusing. You don't know how to rebut these things. It's a good argument that they have. It's something unseen. This is the statement that you bring forth to the Prophet ﷺ. And it's up, if they deny what the Prophet ﷺ said, you always bring the Quran and Sunnah before these people. You always bring the Quran and Sunnah before them. If they deny what the Prophet ﷺ said, they're in the statements of kufr. Of course, we're not going to pronounce takfir on anybody because we don't have the authority to do this. But we are mentioning this because of the Prophet ﷺ. Nabila, I wanted to ask you something. First of all, I wanted to praise Allah Azza wa Jal first. And I wanted to thank you for being the first women amongst hundreds of the people who belong to your sorority of women. I want to thank you for coming on here with your strength and your courage, and even through your lightheartedness that Allah Azza wa Jal has blessed you with. You just laugh at everything, even though some things are extremely painful for you. I got a two-part question for you. Number one is that, how did you not go out of your mind through everything that took place with you? Because what you described took place in about 60 months. I mean, the trauma that happened in your life took place in 60 months. 60 months probably consecutive each and every day. That's number one. How didn't you go out of your mind? Number two, I want you to really, really highlight Hussein Adams in his betrayal of you, because I know this, and I was with you when we would have those conversations, and I was with Hussein Adams what happened. So I'm mentioning his name, and I'm mentioning that this has nothing to do with R2F. Hanif J. Williams is mentioning Hussein Adams' name. So if they want to refute anybody, refute me. His betrayal to you and what he said to you, and the words that he said to you when you had the encounter with him, and the fact that he looked at you as a niece, And I want people to pay attention before she starts speaking. I want people to pay attention. This is the so-called honorable Hussein Adams, who's dishonorable when he does stuff like this. And I want you all to pay attention to Hussein Adams is not an individual before Nabila speaks, because we have to put these things into context. Tmoa is not a democracy, it's a monarchy. Hussein Adams was not voted in position. Hussein Adams was hand-selected on video. We all watched his inauguration in 1999, 2000, whenever it was. He was a young man. He was 17, 18, 19, 20 years old. I don't know. He was put in this position. His ta'aleem wa tadriba, his training and his education came directly from Sheikh Jelani. There's no other interpretation to that. So he was trained how to talk through Sheikh Jelani. He was taught how to sit, how to laugh, how to sit down, how to do this, how to do that. So I want you to explain to, this is who we're speaking about, because people have an attachment to him. They have an attachment to him. And we will take time soon, like at the top of the year. I will be, nobody probably in this room knows him from a personal level like I do, because I spent so many years with him. And I will be putting forth a refutation against him to correct his affairs. So when people who are listening to this, that look at him as if he's the student, he is the top student of after his sister, top student of Sheikh Jelani. I want you all to understand this is who she's going to be talking about. So you have to put the haq and the batil on the table and decide which one you have. The last thing I wanted to say, on the day of before Nabila speaks, on the day of Yawm al-Qiyamah, Allah Azza wa Jalla is going to accept one Islam. Is he going to accept the Islam of Abu Bakr? Yes. Is he going to accept the Islam of Umar? Yes. Is he going to accept the Islam of Uthman? Yes. Is he going to accept the Islam of Ali? Yes. Was Sheikh Jelani upon that Islam? This is very, very simple. This is very simple. Allah Azza wa Jalla is going to accept one Islam on the day of Yawm al-Qiyamah. If you say that Allah Azza wa Jalla is going to accept more than one Islam, you have walked outside the fold of Islam. If an individual says this, and then he's only going to accept what those companions was upon. Was Sheikh Jelani upon those that minhaj, that methodology, that school of thought, that adab, that ikhlaq, and all of the things that you have said? And end this, because I'm emotional right now, and I'm emotional for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. These halalas that we talked about. When have you ever heard the Prophet? I can't even say the statement, because I'm getting ready to go to Medina to visit the Prophet. I don't even want to say the statement. When have you ever seen the Prophet ever stand out somebody's door banging? When have you ever seen this? When have you ever even heard an accusation of this being done? So these things are just not people who are just, this is not just, and I want to say to the sisters who's in the comment, and I don't want to say her name because she's a sister and we have mercy upon her. Do you think that all of these people are just coming together and having some lavish scheme to talk about Sheikh Jelani? Wallahi, Allah Azza wa Jalla is our witness to this. And you hear people swearing by Allah who don't normally swear by Allah, like the brother Abdul Sabur, saying he swore by Allah and he risked his hereafter for what was truthful. And so we need to understand that this is some serious business and our hereafter is at stake. And this lady here, she is not going to be threatened by her sisters, by her parents, by the people with Tmoa, because you don't have no idea who's even looking at this. And every time y'all make a statement, or you do not submit and you're arrogant, Allah Azza wa Jalla escalates the dawah more and he debases you even more. You continue to just embarrass yourselves. So the default for you is to humble yourself and to call up Sheikh Jafar, call up Sheikh Mubarak, call up the young man Umar, call up somebody in Hussein Haq, anybody. Call them up. I'm starting to lose patience with even talking to y'all because y'all make fake accounts. You're not even men, right? But if you want to call me, I might have time to talk to you. But maybe Sheikh Jafar or Sheikh Mubarak is a little more merciful than me. But I'm starting to lose my patience with you. But anyway, I want you all to understand, every time you send a fake comment, every time you do not humble yourself, Allah Azza wa Jalla exposes you even more. Had Jafar's letter not been revealed, and it would have been kept between him and his sheikh at the time, none of this would have ever happened. You would have been able to live in the comfort in the shadows of your darkness. But Allah Azza wa Jal said about darkness, because people say, why are you talking about people's names? Why are you making things clear? Why are you doing things like that? Why are you speaking straightforward? Allah Azza wa Jal said, Allahu waliyul ladina amanu yukhrijuhum min adh-dhulumati ila an-nur. This is what he said in Surah Al-Baqarah. It's the 257th ayat in Surah Al-Baqarah. I believe it's 257th ayat. It's getting late. My memory is slipping. I'm just past my bedtime, but I'm happy. They got this big screen up and my eyes is real big, so I'm awake, but my memory is slipping. I believe it's 257th ayat. Allah Azza wa Jal said, Allahu waliyul ladina amanu yukhrijuhum min adh-dhulumati ila an-nur. Allah Azza wa Jal takes the believers out of the darkness into the light. The darkness is what you can't see. He puts you in the night light and he makes things clear. So that's why people's names is being mentioned. That I say people's names is being mentioned because Mubarak likes saying people's names and Sheikh Jafar likes saying people's names. Sheikh Mubarak likes saying people's names, Afwan, and Sheikh Jafar likes saying people's names. I just brought you something from the Kitab. This is what you have to reconcile with your own self. This is what we've said out of our mouth is Qala Allah and Qala Rasulullah. You are saying Qala Shaykhu, which doesn't have anything. So Nabila, with that being said again, the question is, how didn't you lose your mind? And then the other question, I don't remember what the other question was. My tongue was too long.
The second question was about just going to some more perspective about how when you went to Hussein Adams for help, and how that was like a betrayal.
Okay. Okay. So thank you, Hanif. Oh, how did I not lose my mind? Well, I always keep a journal, right? And throughout all of the craziness, obviously I couldn't depend on my parents or community or friends or anything like that. So I just wrote a lot of things down. I wrote letters to myself, and I want to start here. I never really felt alone, like completely. I always felt like I was loved by something bigger. I felt like maybe Allah was mad at me, but he never like stopped loving me. So I can't really give you an answer that is like a solid answer, because it was just a feeling. Like I had a feeling that I was loved by something higher, something bigger than me. So I would just write myself like love letters, like, girl, you got this. You're beautiful. Believe in yourself. You can do anything. And I'm trying not to get worked up, because writing it, I literally had to write that to me. Like, and if you're watching this and you're suffering, like, it worked for me. Like, write it down. Just write love letters to yourself. And I was like basically writing like, okay, you can do anything, stuff like that. And I think because I was already a mother when this stuff started happening, and I felt suicidal at one point, but I was like, if anything happens to me, or if I die, or, I don't want to leave my kids behind. And this was my story. Oh, your mom suffered and got walked on, and then that's it. Like, I'm dead after that. Like, no. So I wanted to give them an example. Basically my kids helped me push through it, and me writing like letters to myself, honestly. That's the best way I can explain it.
Just to chime in on that real quick before you get to the next question is that helped a lot with me as well. I know when I went through my whole fiasco 4 years ago, when I wrote that book, it was really just writing down my thoughts, like, all these conversations and my thoughts, and working through that. And that just really helped process a lot of what I was going through. So that writing technique is actually a very, very good advice for people out there. So I'm glad it worked for you. Alhamdulillah.
As far as Khalifa Hussein or K2, I don't even know when I met K2, but I know that I used to hang out a lot at Brother MD's house in Binghamton, and Khalifa Hussein was like his right-hand man, I guess, at the time. Maybe he still is. So I was like one of MD's kids, and we're all really close to Khalifa Hussein. And at Brother MD's house is when Khalifa Hussein actually told me to call him uncle. He was like, don't call me Khalifa Hussein, call me uncle. And so that's when I started calling him uncle. And I think I was like 14, I don't know. And I considered him family, like literally. And I've always been kind of silly. Like I used to like draw him pictures and just be goofy. And I remember one time he like swung me around in the kitchen, and we were always buddy, give hugs and everything. Like that was our relationship. And all the way. And so even after I got married, I think Salim got close to him because of me. Like we both were close to him. We went to him for like marriage counseling. We went to him for everything. I trusted him. Like there was no stay away from him. He's not your mahram. It wasn't like that, you know, like ever. So when so throughout the divorce, me writing letters, trying to get my divorce, I was in communication with like Khalif Hussein a lot. And he was like against it, you know, even though he actually cried when he went in our house in Tennessee because of how bad the conditions were. He was like, oh my God, like this is bad. But he still tried to convince me like it wasn't worth like getting a divorce or like stay through it. Because I remember he was like, where me and Aaliyah used to live, we had musk rats coming in. And I was like, it's, you know, it's just as bad, you know, it's all of it's bad, you know. And so
as
anyway,
far as I know, didn't he always live in a nice trailer? I mean, he came to New York. I don't know, maybe I don't know, but he lived in he moved right into what was called Sheikh Jelani's trailer, which was like one of the nicest trailers on the land that was preserved for whenever Jelani was supposed to come back to the United States. He moved right in there. So I don't know about
I think so,
that.
yeah. And he always had nice cars because I think part of our percent like went to him and his family or something like that. I'm not sure how it goes. But yeah, so I was in like communication with him all the time throughout my marriage and throughout my divorce. But he was not pro divorce. He wanted us to figure it out. Like he just didn't see, he saw how bad it was, but it didn't matter. It was just like, no, you know, you stop fighting for this divorce. So anyway, the parts that I'm going to highlight, because it's just too much. Like I can't really explain, like, because everybody wants to, he was like the top guy in the Jamaat. So everybody wants to have a story like, oh, I was close to Khalif Hussein. I really was close to him, and there's no reason for me to make it up. I can't benefit from it, and I don't even know the man anymore. But anyway, so when I was leaving my divorce, and I officially, after they like stopped responding and they weren't, you know, Salim put me in debt, so we kind of did it ourselves. I think I wanted to write him K2 like one final text, like, hey, I'm about to get on this Greyhound. I'm going to my sister's. The debt period is over. And so he called me, and I thought he was about to say good luck. And he was just like, he was rude, and it was like, you do not have permission to call me uncle anymore. Like, I'm not your uncle. I can't even remember because but that was basically it. Like he was just like rude about it. Like, our friendship is over. We're not family. We're not friends. Don't talk to me. For my very valid divorce. Like I got divorced for like really valid reasons. And so that was like the end of our friendship or whatever. But it's not like, oh, this was my friend. He's like one of the top people trained under Shaji. You know, he was K2 or whatever. And so so yeah, it was just, I mean, I was sad about that. Of course I'm completely over it. Oh, it's the least of my problems now. But that's what happened.
Mubarak, can you, just for our audience knows, like what are some of the valid reasons that a woman can ask for a divorce?
I'm sorry, I got some
troll gazing.
Bandit. So no, some of the valid reasons. So one of the reasons, like it's just standard. The man he has to provide food, clothing, shelter, security, intimacy for the woman. Those are like standard things that he has to provide. Any one of those that he fails to do is a valid reason to ask for a divorce. So just based on what was explained already in the show, 100% valid reasons. Though it is, it's not bad if a person decides to try to work through those things, but those things are about. So the man does have to provide food, clothing, shelter, and companionship for the wife. Also, he has to protect her, like from whatever, as far as the environment or the cultural community or whatever. He's responsible for making sure that she is protected that way. He's also responsible for teaching her the religion if she doesn't know. And if he doesn't know, he should provide a way, because the woman, the mother, is usually the main teacher or the first teacher for the children. So usually the children, especially the girls, they're going to copy and mimic the mother in how she practices and does. So that's the husband's responsibility also. So if the woman doesn't know some of the basics of Islam and some of those things, then that is actually on the husband as well. So if he refuses to either teach her or allow her to get an education, then that is also a possibility for grounds for divorce. There's plenty of things. I mean, even if a person also can even ask for divorce if the compatibility is so off and the woman is just so miserable that it affects her relationship with Allah, then in that case, then she can also ask for a divorce for those reasons as well. But I know this is not a marriage and divorce episode,
Right.
but those are some other things.
Got a question. Someone asked, and you don't have to disclose this if you don't want to, but someone asked about I guess they know about a book that you're supposed to be working on that should be exposing a lot of these things that happen. Do they want to? I guess they want to know where you're at with the book, if you still plan on doing that.
Well, it's not really to like expose TMOA. It's just my personal story, but I happen to grow up in MOA or whatever it's called.
Right.
But it's not like, I know when I had my Instagram account open, like it wasn't private, and I was like, hey, I'm working on my autobiography and all that, and people started talking like, she's writing a book about the Jamaat, and no, I'm not. I'm writing a book about my life. Hopefully that if it does sell, it can help other people, not just women, but people who just had the wrong deck of cards handed to them.
Right.
Well,
there's an author, an Arab author that from Egypt that actually took a lot of the stories from the R2F YouTube page, and they actually wrote a book about it in Arabic and published it and then sells it. So we can give you her contact information, and that may help with what you're working on there.
Okay, so. It's incomplete. I lost copies of it twice just through just my life, and it's still incomplete because I have to be in the zone or in the space to write it. Even though I've done like a lot of healing, and I'm like honestly like happy-go-lucky most of the time, but writing it like, hi baby, but writing it, I just it makes me sick to my stomach, so I have to take breaks. I take pretty long breaks writing my book because it's, who wants to revisit it?
Right.
I'm distracted by the I love baby.
There really does need to be a book, a really in-depth book that has lots of anecdotes from actual people in TMOA. It really needs to be a book. We even talked about it needs to be like a mini series, like a TV show. But the
like
stuff is
on Netflix, right? That's what I want. Yeah. That's my dream.
Yeah.
One of my dreams.
Actually, just the story that you told about your sister. I mean, things like that. Literally, I mean, people wouldn't even believe them. I'm sure there's people probably in TMOA probably denying it, but that's one of the things that they know. That type of stuff happens. But I think there definitely needs to be a book about it. So even though you're saying you're not writing a book about it, I think, I mean, if I ever get the time, that I would write a book about it, but I would need like all the different anecdotes and stories and stuff from a bunch of other people. But it needs to be done,
with the stories and stuff from other people. I wanted that more in my documentary I want to make. But as far as my personal story, like that's just my personal story. I am taking a little bit of a break because it bothers my stomach, honestly, like when I have to revisit everything, because I'm still not where I want to be, but I'm so much happier and I'm doing so much better than I was, when I was there. Like I'm actually thinking for myself and actually love myself enough to really love my kids and put them first and stuff. But I wasn't loved, so I didn't know.
So I got a few questions for you. It's a series of questions. So like when you're in TMOA, and we'll say on the juice, right before you started like separating, I guess you participated in like all those late night, stay up all night, do 100 rakats, and you've done those programs. You've done the, all the other different made up acts of worship that Jelani would prescribe. And I want you to put yourself in that mindset of when you were doing those. And then also now look at your mindset right now when literally like we are all starting our Islam from scratch, right? And even though we're not making, because that for a lot of us, I've talked to other people that had the same thoughts, is that even though we're not doing all these made up acts of worship that from the outset looks like, oh, these people are so holy, they're so spiritual, I feel more confident about making my 2 rakats than whatever I did in Tmoa. So like, how do you feel about like, as far as like your connection to Islam and your connection to Allah now versus when you're actually on the juice in Tmoa?
Well, now, honestly, I feel closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than I have ever felt, because I don't have that heaviness of just shame and guilt and feeling like I don't feel like a horrible person. And I used to feel like maybe because that's what I was made to believe, that I was just like this woman, like, oh my God, get her out of here. She's a burden. And and I carried that with me everywhere. But I feel like one of the reasons why I came back is because I just feel like Allah loves me. And, you know, they say like we're God's children. Like sometimes I even feel like I'm the favorite. Like I'm not even kidding. I feel blessed. And it's something that I can't really answer these questions because it comes from inside. I can't really say.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
That's how I feel. But
let's see. Did I miss any questions? The
only question we have is how do you navigate co-parenting with someone in Tmoa? Any tips?
I'm still working on that. There's still a lot of work to be done with our co-parenting. So I just say the least amount of things. I don't know. I just really say only what I have to, because we have a very strange communication. You know, it's just very strange because I'm not respected. To me, I just feel like if you have kids with a person, even if you aren't married to the person, you should just have a common respect because this is the parent of your kids. And, you know, I feel like that's how people should treat each other, not whether or not you have a scarf on and you don't have a scarf on. So I'm not, you know, so you're looked at as a bad person. I don't really have any tips. Well, if I do have a tip, I would just say like, I don't know, take it one day at a time and just try not to let people's personalities or just not being good communicators, don't let it get to you. Don't say all men are this way or whatever. Just do the best you can, say at least as possible, because you can't make anyone love your kids the way you want them to be loved, and you can't make anyone respect you. You just can't make anyone respect you. If they don't want to, then, you know, so you kind of just have to accept it. Just do the best you can on your end. Don't try to run their house. Don't let them run your space. Just girl, just do the best you can, or boy, whoever asks.
Yeah, the co-parenting with literally with a cult member it's a very difficult thing to navigate. And as more and more people leave the cult, we have more and more of these situations. I'm in that situation. My brother's in that situation, and there's going to be more families that are in that situation where one parent's in the cult, one parent's not, and then you have kids that are just stuck in between.
Yeah, I think just talking less is what works with me, because you can't change their mind. You'll run out of breath. Because I started off like, well, we're still their parents and we should, and I'm not trying to put them on the spot either. We both have a lot of growing to do. And and I don't want to be misunderstood either, because if you don't like bash your husband, people assume like you want to get back with them or something like that. And it's not at all. That's not the case. I'm 35 now, so I'm just not going to be upset about anything unless it's like it's something I have to be upset about. I don't know. I just like peace. Just be cool. I don't know.
So I got I had some questions that I was being badgered in the comments. You actually answered one of them, so alhamdulillah for that. And you do not have to answer the rest of them, but I'm going to be beat up if I don't answer this, because multiple people. I don't know if you can take this as something good or not. I
Go
don't know.
ahead.
Depends on who it is.
Shoot me with it.
One was, how old are you? You already said that you were 35. That's
I'm
great.
35.
Are you married? If not, are you looking to get married?
Is that what you guys got from this? That I was looking for yet again another husband? I'm not closed to the idea of it, but this time next year come around and ask that. I have stuff to do, like for real. I have things to do, and boy, I have things to do. That's funny.
All right, I think that's it for the questions. Is there any other message? I mean, you covered a lot, and it's gonna take a lot for people to kind of dissect all the information that's come up in this interview. So like we talked about the issue with the parents. You gave great advice to young people, especially young females that are maybe in your same shoes that you are at that. Oh, that's the question I had. So at what age were like you've been pretty much thrown to the wolves by your parents and the Jamaat? Like what age did that happen at? It's like you're 35 now, but what age were you like on your own?
I think I was 29 when it was like officially over. And that's when because I went to beauty school when I was 30. So guys, I bought a car for $250 and I drove from South Carolina to California without even test driving the car. I was like, girl, I have to go. So and my sister was with me, my sister and my daughter, they were with me and we took turns driving. But yeah, I went to California. And my first job, I think, was at Chevron gas station. And it worked out really well because the owners were Egyptian. And they were like, they were Christian Egyptians. And they were like, no, we're not hiring. And I was like, oh, just being real Joe. And I was like, well, I speak Arabic. And they're like, oh my God, you speak Arabic? And so basically that's what like got me in, like, oh my God, she speaks Arabic. And so they knew that I was Muslim, had a Muslim background, and they really understood me. Because like in Egypt, like the culture is like all the same. Like the Muslims and Christians are so similar is what they told me. So they understood me when I didn't know anything about anything. They were like, oh, well, she's Muslim. Like she's going to be, she's a Muslim girl. So my boss was so nice to me. So Samir, if you're watching this, hi. So he really put up with me because I didn't know anything about how to run the register, and I had to learn the lottery tickets and just everything. They were so nice to me. Anyway, they gave me the graveyard shift, and with that, I used that money to pay for beauty school, and so I became a makeup artist, and then I went on to become a notary public, and I just I'm like a certified caregiver. I just did a bunch of things because I wanted to make sure that I was never ever without money again. And I wanted to prove to myself that I just wasn't a dumb bitch. I'm sorry. Because that's how I felt. Honestly, when I left, I just felt so stupid. And people would ask me questions just about streets and addresses, and I just didn't know anything. So anyway,
with that, sorry to interrupt, but I want to go back a little bit. Like, what was your, because this is something that we face, that not we, but people in Tmoa face up to today. What was your education in Tmoa as far as secular education, like grade school, K through 12? What was your experiences like that as growing up in Tmoa?
Well, I did do correspondence school. I went to, I think it was called Penn Foster at the time. So I did that when I was 15. So that was like in 2003. So by the time I left and I was 29, like I hadn't done math since 2003. So I was like really bad at numbers. I'm still kind of bad at numbers, but I just didn't have, basically all that stuff I learned in high school, I kind of lost it because I never used it. And that, I'm telling you, that destroys self-esteem if you don't know basic math. And I've always been pretty good with reading and English and all that stuff. But so anyway, I just started, that was my education. I got my high school diploma at home. Jimmy, you look like you're about to laugh any minute. but yeah, I got my high school diploma at home. But it was like by the time I got out of the house and stuff, I hadn't been studying anything. So I really just didn't know anything. But after I left, I read a bunch of books and listened to podcasts, and
no, it's not just nothing you should be ashamed about getting a GED or anything from home. That's that's a major accomplishment. It's just more, I just wanted to see if there was like a lack of education, because I know a lot of kids in Tmoa now, young people, they just actually don't have the proper education to, move on in life.
Yeah, well, like I said, my dad always worked my whole life, and I knew it was an option for me to get it because I talked to my mom about it, and I felt so ready to just get into school. I wanted to do something besides like the sheep in the garden. I wanted to be doing something. So I remember crying, and I was like, I want to go to high school. Like I was like crying, like I want to do this. I want to get my high school diploma. And she signed me up, and that's when we used to send the test in like manually and stuff like that. And then so I graduated, I think 2003 or something. Okay. I have my high school, I have a little wall of like my high school diploma and my like best sales rep and my beauty certificate. I have a wall for when I'm just feeling like, God, why am I not where I want to be? I have to remember how far I've come. So I have my little wall. Don't judge me.
Well, just a spoiler alert. There's never a point where you're going to say, yeah, I'm where I want to be. That doesn't actually happen unless we're in gender. So, I just want to repeat that, alhamdulillah, like, may Allah bless you for what you're doing. And truly, Allah has great plans for you, because you've went through stuff that many people would not be able to survive through. And you've had a long, crazy journey that we didn't even touch into everything.
There's so much more. I wouldn't even want to go over it tonight, though. It's just to give people a chance to take all this in. We can do a part 2 if you want to, because the way I was raised, I just wasn't equipped for the world, and I made like a lot of bad choices because I didn't know the signs of, okay, this one's a narcissist, or you're being gaslighted, or I didn't know the signs. And so it's just like, we see the world as we are, like, hey, I'm honest and I'm transparent, and I just believed everything. So I feel like I could help some other girls out there who were like me.
So I just want to be also, so our audience is clear, because one of the things, like, as far as Sheikh Jelani's teachings with the whole 7 sultans and all that, what are your thoughts on those teachings?
I never really understood it. I never really understood it. I never questioned it, and I fully believed in it. So I guess it's called blind faith, because I don't know all the other sultans that came before him, or his, him claiming to be the 6th sultan. It was just like, this is what my parents taught me. So and I thought everybody knew about that. Like, I thought everybody knew about Sheikh Jelani. So in Michigan, when my parents put me in Arabic school at the Yemen Mosque in Michigan, I asked one of my sisters, like, do they know about like Sheikh Jelani being the 6th sultan? And she was like, no, they don't know about that. And I was like, oh my God, like trash. Like, how could they not know? And we really felt like we were better than them because we had this sheikh and we were promised paradise. So, it was just like, I definitely thought I was, I believed it. I don't really get it, so I can't even say what my thoughts are about it now.
Well, let me actually, we could actually do something interesting here, because, so what would you say right now is your knowledge on a scale of 1 to 10, your Islamic knowledge of what you know to be true about Islam on a scale of 1 to 10? What would you say your level is personally?
Okay. What kind of question is that? That's too heavy.
Bear with me. Bear with me.
It's just
do you think you're like a scholar? That's like a 10.
Oh,
you'd be a scholar?
No. I feel like I need to start from the beginning. As far as my connection with Allah, I just feel like I'm so loved, and I literally do not know why. Like, I did nothing to earn it. Like, I don't know why I don't feel shook when I go to sleep, but I sleep like a baby.
I'm going to tell you some of the stuff from the 7 sultans belief, and you tell me whether you think it's actually in compliance with Islam. So if I told you that Allah divided himself into 8 different beings, would you say that is compatible with Islam?
No.
Okay, great answer. All right, now if I told you and I came to you and I said, it is okay to call me Allah, if I said it's okay to call me a human being Allah, would you say that's okay?
No.
Okay. And if I said to you that Allah came and told me that me and him are the same, would you say that's okay?
I shouldn't have hesitated, but a month ago I probably would have said, okay, yeah, he has that close connection.
Yeah.
So no.
Yeah. So all that so those are just some of the statements from that whole teaching of the seven sultans. Just so you're aware, just so like if it ever comes up again with your family or whatever, it's a complete shirk. And I just did that for our audience because we always have to kind of remind people of what we're talking about. We're talking about shirk, and as bad as the abuse and trauma that we all went through, the worst trauma and abuse that we all went through is that we were taught shirk. And you know, and again, I don't know if there's any other questions, but I really want to thank you and applaud you for what you're doing. And I would love to have a part 2 so we can go into the other stuff.
For sure, for sure. And when you said shirk, I just thought of something funny. When my sister, you guys probably call her Razia, her name's Rafia. When she went to Pakistan, Shaji was like in his 70s when she went over there. And so, you know, even I call my kids by the wrong name accidentally. Anyway, so he called her Jamila. He was like, where's Jamila? Or Jamila, bring me the whatever. And so she's like, oh my God, like Shaji called me Jamila, like that must be my name because like Allah doesn't make mistakes. So that's literally how she got her name Jamila. And so and when my parents told me about it, they're like, oh my God, like Shaji named her Jamila, like he, you know, he called her that. He didn't say Rafia, he said Jamila. And so like that's the, I guess, value that we place on him, or that's like the pedestal, or I can't think of another word for him. But yeah, it was like he doesn't do anything accidentally. If he called her Jamila, the woman's name is Jamila. And so that's how she got her name.
Just make a mistake and it just becomes true. The same thing happened to one of my friends, actually. His name was like 3 letters, and the sheikh mistakenly added another letter. And then to this day, that's his new name. And even his father's like, no, that's not his name.
It's too much. It's much too much.
Yeah.
But we can do a part 2, and maybe I'll be a little more organized and I won't be so tense, and we can have a conversation.
No, it's all good. I think you did well. It was like I said, a lot of people they really want to do what you have done. They want to, but they haven't been able to put forth the strength to do it. So trust me, you're way ahead of the curve, so no worries at all.
Yeah, I just my story is very dark, it's very heavy, so I know it seems like I don't take it seriously because I laugh, but I have to keep it light. And I mean, I'm lighthearted anyway, and it's really not even, I can't even say it's not my problem anymore, but those problems have passed. You know, so I'm really just ready to move on. And even with this interview, it was therapeutic for me because I want to move on fully. I don't tired of this being my story. And it's just, I mean, how do you even make friends or get to know people when this is your story? Because eventually it comes up like, where is your family? You can't make something up because now years are going by, and it's like, and you don't talk to your parents and they start looking at you like, what did you do? Who are you really? Because you seem nice, but why wouldn't your parents talk to you? It's tough. Like, it's tough having to build new relationships. That's why I don't have any friends. Like, I have coworkers, but I mean, you know, so, but yeah, thanks for having me.
No problem at all. Let's see if there's any last Hail Mary, not Hail Mary, any last ditch questions in here. That there's a lot of questions. Some of them are just, you know, we're just not gonna ask. We're not gonna do that. There's some that we won't do. I'm trying to find see if there's any that
why won't you do them? You think I'm not equipped to handle it?
No, they're trust me, they're not No, they're not.
Yeah, some of them are just literally just jokes for no reason. So
So
just
you know,
we'll
some
send
of
them
them.
after the show.
Yeah, we try to clean. We clean some up, and some, you know, try to, you know, not it's not anything like bad. It's just some people are weird, and then there's some things that are just it just, we get a lot of haters in the comments and around. So I mean, you probably caught the brunt of some of our normal trolls that attack us. Just you know, want to say something here or there about you, but I don't think there's any other questions really that that are pertinent for this. And
yeah, I'm so unbothered. Like with all the things I've gone through, you're leaving a comment. Like, don't do that.
And that's what we say. A person they make a fake account. They can't even, most of the time they can't even use their real
Tell
name.
them to call in. Tell them to use their name and call in. I'll talk to them.
No, they don't have the heart to do it. They really are cowards. We have invited from Umnur all the way down, because she's their leader now, all the way down to the last man. Whoever the person is who's just about to be kicked out of the Jamaat for not paying his percentage, even him we'll talk to. So from the top guy to the last guy, come on. I mean, it doesn't matter. They can even be anonymous. We don't mind, but I mean, at least when they just leave comments and run, they don't even respond to the rebuttals, you know, that are given. Once they get beat down in the comment section, they leave. So I think they know if they can be whooped in the comment section, then them standing a chance here is not going to happen. But we'll be nice to them if they want to come. But anyway, I don't want to go off on the trolls too much. But alhamdulillah, I like Jafar said, we applaud you for your bravery. It's a first, because we haven't had a woman guest on, and I think a lot of women actually that we know that have considered it and want to come on. Some have agreed to come on and then backed out, you know. So this has happened. They've been like, yeah, we're coming, and then, you know, got cold feet or whatever. So this hopefully will open the doors for some other people to tell their story as you have. And then as like I said, whenever we get dialed up for part 2, I'm sure that it will be an excellent show as well. But it's a good job by you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Okay, anything else, Jafar or Amr?
I don't think we have any more questions. I think that just some logistical things. We'll be back on next Saturday, inshallah. And what else? Is there anything else I had to mention? I think that's it. But yeah, I just wanted, again, there's already 2 people in the chat, at least 2 other sisters that are interested in coming on the show. So you know, you've already inspired 2 people. So it's already progress showing right there. And what usually happens, I'm pretty sure, and someone mentioned it in the Zoom comments, that this and the MJ episodes are the best so far. And I'm pretty sure the next week, I'm gonna get texts and messages, and R2F is gonna get texts and messages about all these people saying, "Oh, thank you, Bellah, this episode is so helpful. It helped me out. I'm leaving the Jamaat." So you have started something, and everything that's gonna happen after that, you're gonna get all those blessings. So alhamdulillah.
I need them.
I think that's it. I don't got anything else. If you want to close this out,
there's a few people. There's just I guess some people have left some messages for you, like in the chat, I guess. So that not necessarily to be read, but I guess you can read them after. And just one person wanted, I guess they didn't want to say live or whatever, but they did want to let you know that you are a very strong person, a strong woman, and may Allah bless you, and that you are inspiring and all those good things. So they could have just said that on the show, but I was
Thank you for that, person. Love you.
I think she said she would have cried trying to say it. So you know, so that's why I said it for her. But alhamdulillah, my wife says that all those nice things. She's saying it. She's crying over here, but like I know what she wants to say.
There you blew her up, bro.
Yeah, she's a big baby. Like she literally can't. Like so she's crying, trying to tell, and I'm like, okay, I know what you want to say. You couldn't say it. Okay, yeah. So these are all the things that she's going to say. Wonderful, and really, you have been inspiring to a lot of people. She says you're an extremely strong woman, which, as I said, a lot of people, even men, have not been able to do this. What you I said, yeah, I'll do it. They want to do it. They've said, I want to do it, but, and you have not said but you said, yeah, I'll do it, even though, you know, it's you were nervous and everything. So yes, may Allah bless you and help you to continue to make this journey not only back to Islam, alhamdulillah for that. That's the biggest blessing of all, and that you continue to get closer and closer to him, that we all get closer and closer to him.
Ameen.
Ameen.
So I think that's a good way to end it, inshallah.
Yep.
So for everyone, thanks everyone for showing up. Great show. Inshallah, we'll do it again next time. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun ala al-mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. Thank you.